Hey everybody, it's Josh. Welcome to MrBeast Week on the worst of all possible worlds. That's right, we're going back to something that we have talked about once directly and a couple times in passing, the ongoing career of the most popular creator in the new media economy. This week, we're actually going to be releasing 3 episodes to our feed. This episode, what you're about to listen to, is a re-upload of a premium episode that we originally posted back to our Patreon in March 2023. Basically covers the story of Jimmy, MrBeast Donaldson, from the very first video he uploaded to YouTube up until the video where he healed the sight of 1,000 blind people. Additionally, on Wednesday, for our regular Patreon episode, we got June Sternbach from Western Kabuki on the show to talk about Beast Games, the Amazon original series that's on Prime, the game show, reality show, kind of both and kind of neither. That one's a lot of fun, and that's going to be out at the regular time on Wednesday. And then this weekend, Brian and I will be going on Western Kabuki, which of course is a show that June co-hosts, to sort of pick up where we left off and talk about the videos that Jimmy has done over the course of the past couple years, and probably also debrief a little bit more about Beast Games. So that episode of Western Kabuki is going to be a 2-parter. For the first part, it'll be posted both on Western Kabuki's public feed as well as ours so that anybody can listen to it. That should be going out probably on Friday. And then the second part is going to be going out exclusively to the Western Kabuki Patreon next week. We've been looking forward to doing this for a little while now, just sort of as a full cross-collaboration between our 2 shows. We hope you enjoy it. And thank you, as always, for listening.
What?
So I was out last week because I flew to Ontario, California, because my grandpa died, which is a thing that grandpas do.
Yeah, congrats to him.
And he just like me for real. And we did a whole Catholic Mass ceremony to bury him. And I don't know if you all have been to a Catholic funeral before.
I have not.
No.
My Baptist relatives always warned me against it.
Yeah,
because they take too long.
It's terrible. You have to go through the entirety of a Mass, and then the homily happens, but the homily is sort of hastily tied into your loved one's life.
Okay.
Sure.
Somehow, and usually it's a stretch.
So is it supposed to happen at normal Mass time, and then they
Yes.
just sort of work? So like if a bunch of people are dead, is it like you just go down the line?
Yeah, I mean, it can happen that way, but I mean,
Okay.
we went on a Friday. This was on a Friday morning.
Okay.
And so it doesn't usually take place on the Sunday, but you have to do the whole rites of the Mass. Like, it's just like this person is a larger part of the church, so we're going to do the whole church thing. And a part of that is a thing where you just do the rosary for 30 minutes. 30 uninterrupted minutes of 2 people standing at the front of the room.
Wow, you'd have to do it so slow.
Yeah.
I went to a Catholic funeral and I don't remember doing it for 30 minutes.
Sometimes they do it the night before in order to circumvent it.
Well, Josh, that's because you and your Dutch Calvinist roots just folded your arms and
That's
said,
true.
No,
That's true. I was
no."
like, I am not participating in this, and I blocked it out of my memory entirely.
My grandfather was part of a long tradition of California Republicans, and it's very interesting because they
Like
all
Earl
seem
Warren.
to have, yeah, well, they all seem to have the same accent, which is very weird. Like, there's an
There
Orange
are
County.
definitely political accents. I don't know what that is.
Sure,
Yeah.
like the Kennedy accent. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's like the Kennedy accent, but like it's like the Jimmy Stewart one a little bit. It's why I could do Jimmy so well. It's because there is sort of there's an accent there that I grew up with. Actually, I'm just doing my grandma when I do Jimmy. But the woman who was doing the rosary had this accent, and she kept putting the wrong emphasis on the word. So she would say, "And blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus." And it was that for 30 minutes. So I'm sitting there in church. You know, it's 10 in the morning. I'm extremely jet lagged because our plane got delayed the night before because the winds were blowing so hard we had to stop in Oklahoma in order to refuel just to make it through the winds. And so I'm jet lagged. I'm out of my mind. I'm hearing this woman say, "And blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus," when my phone in my pocket buzzes and I get a message.
No. Oh no, I remember this.
I get a message from Brian Alford, and
I know him. Yeah.
And I was sitting.
I've heard of this man.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, oh, that's so sweet. Brian remembered that this is the morning of my grandpa's funeral.
I didn't know it was going to be in the morning. I knew it was that day.
Yeah, and he was sending, and it was just like sending me like a little bit of support and love. And I'm like, what's the harm in checking this? We're just listening to some Hail Marys happening at the front of the room. I mean,
Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Full of grace.
She would also say trespasses instead of trespasses, which is very specific. But I pull out my phone and I read the message, and I would like Brian to actually read this for you now. Again, a very quiet church.
I just had a horrible phrase pop into my head. I'm so gassy, I could turn James Joyce gay. I'm not even gassy. I don't know why this has happened.
And blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the worst of all possible worlds, the first and only podcast that's so gassy we could make James Joyce gay. I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. Welcome back to...
welcome back to the Hype House.
Oh,
we're here at the Twowapu Hype House.
Yes. I know I'm a sicko. I, Josh Borman, am a noted sicko.
Yeah, he broke my toilet.
He's reading off of an app right now, like he's doing an app apology.
And every once in a while, my sicko nature requires that we cover something that's to do with where entertainment is going. Because we talk a lot about the pop culture of a dying empire on this show. Much of the time, it is covering stuff from the past, but sometimes we need to be future looking as well. So I said, you know what, guys? Let's watch some fucking MrBeast videos.
Yeah, and we were both very unenthusiastic about this.
MrBeast.
You're just turning it into AJ's MrBeast corner.
Ooh, yeah. MrBeast corner.
I don't know how he would do a horse sound. That's my approximation.
I think he would just go, we're going to give away a horse at the end of this episode.
We're not going to pay the insurance or the housing fees for that horse.
That's right. That's right.
Boy.
Fucking luck. We haven't been able to even find this horse's breeding papers, but we're assuming it's a thoroughbred. We don't know.
Josh, what was your first exposure to MrBeast? Because you did come to us with this. So how did you first enter Beast mode?
I actually didn't really follow MrBeast before this. I follow a number of YouTubers.
You're more of a TikTok guy. You know what the big TikTokers are up to.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about MrBeast is that he only does YouTube as far as content goes. There are a lot of content creators who try to have a sort of diversified profile where they have a presence on different platforms. Whereas with this guy, Jimmy Donaldson, MrBeast, he's been on YouTube from day one, and that's been the way that's building his audience. But the reason that I wanted to do an episode about him was actually that about a month ago, he released a video that was I cured 1,000 people's blindness or whatever.
1,000 blind people see for the first time.
Yes.
In all caps, a little react picture as the thumbnail where everyone's looking very shocked into the camera.
There's a
and he's
child.
kind of
And
awkwardly standing at the side being like, I helped.
Yeah, he has a YouTube thumbnails lean towards the hideous anyway.
Oh, they're
he
bizarre.
doesn't fall into kind of the same traps of making gigantic eyes and shit like that.
Yeah.
But he has sort of a unique brand of shitty thumbnail.
Yeah.
And this one is just horrifying to look at. It's like people have replaced their skin with clay.
Yeah, it's not great, but this was such a fucking discourse bomb, and it actually continues to be one. People are still talking about this right now, and
Alice was just talking about it today.
Yes,
That's weird.
and he'd been on my periphery for a while because he is the biggest account on YouTube, right? If you follow
he
digital
is bigger
media
than PewDiePie
creators, you know who this fucking guy is. But I'd never really dug into his shit because it doesn't appeal to me, honestly. But I knew about the brand. I knew about his whole deal.
It's because you're not a child, Josh. It's because you are not a literal teenager.
But I had watched a little bit. I guess the only thing is I had watched a little bit of the Squid Game in real life video.
That was my introduction to who he was.
Yeah.
I was completely unaware of his existence entirely until that video came out, and everyone was like, well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Squid Game is about a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Netflix was like, this is a good idea. We're going to make our own series that's Squid Game for real.
I think he's a really interesting case study in new media. And in the same way that we did that Hype House episode was that last year at this point, right? It was,
It was like April, I think.
April. It was like
This
about a
is
year
our
ago.
pilgrimage to the influencer.
So we're taking on this year's annual trip to the influencer zone. Yeah, I figured, why not talk about a guy who is genuinely shaping the future of media?
So MrBeast, aka Jimmy Donaldson,
Yes.
was born in 1998, or to put that in context, that was the year of Pokemon, the first movie.
Ah, yes.
And 3 years before Avril
excuse
Lavigne
me,
mysteriously
AJ.
appeared in New York City.
Pokemon, the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back.
That's right.
Of course.
That's
My
right.
apologies. And, he basically started as a Let's Player.
But before we go too into his biography,
Yes.
I kind of want to just take a moment here to pull in the very first thing that I showed you guys as part of the playlist that we put together for this episode, because we've got a whole
Yes.
playlist of fucking videos. And
Yeah, so I mean, this is the first MrBeast video I watch. This is the
Yeah,
very first
same.
thing I ever saw, and it's not actually his video. No,
Right,
it's
right.
it's a video. It's a documentary about him.
It's Colin and Samir who do a lot of stuff like profiling YouTubers.
Yeah.
But the reason that I wanted to start with this specific video is that it's not a MrBeast video. It's
Yeah.
a video about him outside of it. And if you have not seen very many of MrBeast's videos, if you don't really know who he is,
Yeah.
totally out of context, this video is one of the most wild things you will ever
Yeah,
see.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
interesting thing about MrBeast is he's like maybe one of the most famous people in the entire world.
Yes.
And yet, the way fame works now, the way that fame works through these channels specifically, there's no reason that anyone our age should have really heard about him.
Right.
Right? Like,
Because we're not children.
Yeah, and we are not parents of children.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so he's completely off of our radar.
So the first video then that I had you guys watch for this shit was this video. We spent 24 hours with MrBeast, where basically they went down to American Dream Mall in East Rutherford, New Jersey. We'll talk about this video in more detail again toward the end, but I just wanted to get at this point first impressions from this video where he is opening this burger shop in a mall and breaking a world record.
It baffled me.
Yeah.
This kid who seems to be genuinely, his only concern is that everybody have a good time and
Yeah.
that everyone like feel like they had a worthwhile experience. He just has such an anti-charisma.
Yeah.
In a way, they at one point show the head chef of this burger joint that he's opening, the MrBeast burger. And that guy's name is Eric, and he is infinitely more
He's
charismatic.
such a character. It's
He
an-
is such a fun and interesting character, and I'm like, why? What in a rational world, this would be the man who has all these followers.
right.
But instead, we're following this kid who just seems very sort of uncomfortable in his own skin. He's wearing flip flops, shorts, and a long sleeve T-shirt. Like it's
Yeah, I
just
said
very
he's not super on when we first see him, but he's not in public.
He doesn't have to be on
And
yet.
then
Yeah.
he shows up in public and he still doesn't, he's not my definition of on, that's for sure.
No. But I think that approachability is sort of part of his appeal.
Yeah.
It's like if you gave the weird surfer guy in your high school like $54 million
yeah.
and told him to change nothing about himself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of the appeal to all these kids out there.
And he just stays in it, board shorts and all.
And you see all these people lining up. You know, this is people who have camped out for more than 24 hours, 36 hours in some cases. You have people holding signs of support for Mr. Bean.
He's getting all sorts of
I wish I
shenanigans.
did that on purpose. Holding signs of support. Oh my God. Holding signs of support for Mr. Beast.
Yes.
That just say shopmrbeast.com.
Yeah.
Right.
These are like 8-year-olds, man.
They've tattooed it on their faces with permanent marker.
Yeah. Like a lot of these kids are like, we're talking about teenagers. A lot of these kids are kids.
I just wanted to take a moment. AJ, what do you think a tattoo is?
Yeah, no, it's when you just draw anything on your skin and it stays there forever.
Yeah.
That's a tattoo.
But what you see here when he does make this appearance, we get a lot of discussion about the logistics. He wants to make sure that everyone gets a burger. Whoever doesn't get a burger gets a picture with him.
Yes.
He wants to make sure that he can get a picture with everyone, which is not possible. And they realize, okay, so there's an estimated 10,000 people here. He wants to set a record for selling 10,000 burgers in a day because the record is 2,000. So spoiler, they don't get anywhere near 10,000.
But the defining moment of this video for me, the moment that made me go, holy fucking shit,
Yeah.
is this moment where he walks up to a railing overlooking the rest of the mall.
Yeah.
And it's like this fucking moment of Caesar addressing the masses. You can hear the screams of the crowd and everyone seeing him, and somebody hands him a mic and he quiets them down, and it's like he's God. In this moment, he is God.
His appearance is this like benevolent, like, I'm here, I care about you.
Yes.
That's what he exudes.
So I want you to hold that image in your head now as we jump into talking about where he came from.
Yeah.
That moment is him at his absolute apex. Now let's talk about how he got started.
I took the note of when he's addressing everybody. What if you gave Milhouse unlimited power? And everything is coming up Milhouse, but it wasn't always that way.
No, it wasn't. So you had mentioned AJ, born in 98 in Kansas. This is all per Rolling Stone, by the way. They did a profile of him. I'm just going to quote from the article.
Great.
He was born in Kansas, the middle child to two parents who were active duty in the military, with his mother Sue serving as a prison warden in Mannheim, Germany, before being stationed at Fort Leavenworth.
Wow.
Yeah.
After a tumultuous marriage, his parents split up in 2007 when Donaldson was 8, and he no longer has any contact with his father. He declined to discuss the reasons why on the record. Donaldson attended a small private school, Greenville Christian Academy, which I looked into just a little bit. Looks like a pretty standard issue like Christian school. It's connected to a Baptist church, very like Southern fried kind of thing.
Sure.
Where boys were given demerits for wearing their hair too long and forced to copy Bible verses as punishment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is one of those Baptist schools attached to a Baptist church.
Yep.
This is a way that a lot of these churches will diversify. They either start like a high school or something, or they'll start like a Bible institute, a college that no reasonable person would expect to give a good education.
Jesus.
This is a very big grift, especially in the Southern Baptist
And
world.
Tim LaHaye did that, we'll remember, from the Left Behind episode. He started his own college.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Again, it's just like a growth out of the church building itself.
This is where it becomes interesting to me when I was like reading a little bit of his biography, because we talk about evangelical Christianity all the time on this show. He grew up evangelical.
Yeah.
And not just evangelical, but clearly a very like disciplinarian kind of background. I mean, his
he grew
mom
up
was
in
a fucking prison warden.
He's
Right.
a single mother in the military raising two boys, him
Right.
and his older brother,
Right.
who later starts a YouTube channel called Mr. Bro.
Which is very charming. Yeah, because MrBeast himself has 5 channels currently active. There's MrBeast, there's Beast Reacts, there's MrBeast Gaming, there's MrBeast 2?
Yes.
Which is, I guess, it's just more MrBeast, and then there's Beast Philanthropy, which is a very different thing we'll get into a little bit later. But
and there's actually even more channels than that, and I will get into that too.
Holy shit! Those are sort of the major ones that I could find. But he only started with the one, MrBeast 6000, as he was known when he first started. Apparently, he posted his first video when he was 11.
When he was 11. So the first video you will find is a video that we watched, Worst Minecraft Saw Trap, which is, people would make a something in Minecraft that's like, if you're trapped by Jigsaw in the movie Saw, here's a thing that's going to be a really hard thing to get out of. It's not anything special, right?
Yeah, this video was
low frame rate.
February 2012 is when this video was published. He's super mumbly.
It's a 13-year-old child. And the reason why he's 13 is because when he started it when he was 11, his first video was a battle cards video that got 20,000 views basically overnight.
Tremendous.
And he kept making videos. None of them did particularly well. This was before monetization was really much of a thing.
Right.
Sure.
Maybe Fred was making money off of YouTube at this point, and like nobody else.
Right.
or like Ryan Higa.
And then PewDiePie would come along like in a year or two and start making some real money.
And when he was 13, one of his classmates found out about his YouTube channel, and he was like, oh, fuck. And he just deleted everything. So that's why the first stuff we see is from when he's 13
So
on.
this is like all the lost years, basically, the first 2 years. But he has kept everything up from when he was 13 on.
God, if that Minecraft video is, imagine what the previous 2 years must have been like.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, just
I
genuinely
imagine more of the same.
Oh, it definitely is. I'm just saying, like, it must be so much more unwatchable.
Moving on from that video, I mean, that's pretty much all there is to say about it.
You get other stuff like that too in his early days.
Yeah.
It's a lot of him playing video games. It's either that or it's like first person shooters, a lot of Call of Duty.
Well, and that's what this next video is he's talking about how much money he thinks PewDiePie has made.
Right.
This is a follow-up to a previous video where he said that PewDiePie makes like $14,000 a day or something like that. And he goes into like sort of the basic calculations by looking at another YouTuber who had posted a screenshot of their metrics.
Right.
And he says, yeah, this is really loose numbers. He knows what all of the factors are into monetization, into selling ads and everything like that. But he gives sort of the lowest possible estimate of how much the top YouTuber at the time would be making. And it's over some footage of
it's a Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a video,
It's just rambling. I mean, it's just not a good video at all.
No.
This is the kind of video that any kid who currently watches MrBeast is probably making right now. Any 13-year-old.
And I mean, that's the thing is, I don't want to go too hard against these videos because it's a child. It's a child making them, and like good on him for doing so, and also for keeping it secret from his mother for 5 years.
Well, I think the thing that's interesting here is less the videos themselves, which are very much just like somebody who is young making shit for the sake of making shit because they have a compulsion to create something.
Yeah.
The more interesting thing is the way that even at this point you can see his relentless obsession with and fixation on metrics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all about like he's already thrown around terms like, CPM and rev split because he is interested in the mechanics of the business. PewDiePie for him is an aspirational icon.
Yeah.
Less because of what he is making in the creation sense and more of what he is making in a money sense.
Right. Because MrBeast is not making videos that are imitating Felix Kjellberg. He's not putting his face in the videos yet. He probably doesn't have a camera at this point. But he's not screaming and swearing and saying the N-word or whatever, right? He's not that kind of personality. He's just kind of jabbering over video game footage.
Yeah, and it's like it also shows this obsession sort of with money also from like the get-go. Like it is this like, okay, so I want to make this into a sustainable career, but he's thinking about that when he's like 15 years old.
Yes.
Which is, a lot of people don't know what they want to be when they're that young.
Yeah.
But it seems like MrBeast from that age is just like, I'm going to be a YouTuber.
Well, especially in 2014.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people forget too, is obviously now the creator economy is sort of the thing.
Yeah.
And there were indications that this would become the thing that it was. We'll all remember, of course, the Time Magazine Person of the Year issue when the person was you.
Yes.
What year
We'll
was
all
that?
remember if we're our age in our 30s.
Yeah, right.
That was 2007, I believe.
Right.
But for most of the listeners of this podcast who are all the angry MrBeast fans
That's
who are
right,
going to
that's
come
right.
here to defend their Jesus.
Wait, so like there was a pathway to being a successful creator and having that be a thing, but at this time, a lot of success in that sphere still was dependent on also having a presence in legacy media.
Yeah, you had to break out because the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first person to become famous off of the internet was Andy Milonakis.
Oh, okay.
And Andy Milonakis gets an MTV2 show.
Right.
And today you can still see him doing commercials or he does events. I remember he was, I forget, G4 had its own video game awards show. He appeared on that.
Okay.
He was doing TV. That's what made him money. The guy who did the Numa Numa video on Newgrounds eventually made money by making videos that were ads for Geico, where he danced
that's
to the
right.
I always feel like somebody's watching me, because they had the little money googly eye thing bit for the Geico ads, and he had the gecko dancing in the background. And
that's
like
right.
that is how you were able to monetize your stuff. You couldn't just make your videos and then have YouTube embed an advertisement in there or whatever else.
Right.
Whereas Jimmy, on the other hand, always saw his revenue stream in the digital sector. Like he was like, I am going to look at how much money PewDiePie is making on his videos on YouTube, because that clearly is his model for what he also wants to do.
And it's important to note, the year here being 2014, he is about 15 years old. He's not quite 16, I don't think, at this point.
He's 15, yeah.
And at this point, I think the year before, he had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Very, very serious Crohn's disease. So he went from playing baseball, that was kind of his habit, was like he liked to play baseball.
Yeah.
And here you have a kid who's 15 years old, already 6'2", ends up losing so much weight, he's about 139 pounds at his lightest.
Oof.
I also wonder, being somebody who also has a disease that I've struggled with, to what extent that shaped his own view of himself, particularly with regard to his relationship with his faith. Because again, we'll remember that he was going to Christian school at this time. But in the Rolling Stone article, it actually says, and I'll just quote straight from here.
Yeah.
He says he used to be observant. You have to beat it into your head every day, is the quote that he used. But long questioned the church's stance on issues like homosexuality and has since pivoted to identifying as agnostic. It's such a sensitive topic for so many people around here, he says. I believe there is a God, but there are so many different religions and so many people who believe passionately about these things. It's hard to know which is right.
That's very interesting. I think that actually, as we go forward into this, that's going to be something that's going to be hanging in my head in terms of who this person is and how he interprets the world. But one of the big things is that he ended up just sort of being like, he couldn't play baseball anymore. Right. He couldn't go to school sometimes. He was just sort of stuck in his room, which meant his hobby of making YouTube videos. Now we get this fixation. How much money is someone making? How can like what is the ad revenue? What are these systems? How do they interact with each other?
And it kind of reminds me too of when I was in 8th grade and I tried out for the soccer team and did not have the ability to make it through a workout. Like I was just too physically weak to do it. So I know how that feels. I really know how that feels.
And I think, again, as we mentioned before, he's doing all these YouTube videos in his room and he's not telling his parents about it.
Right.
No. Well, I mean, he doesn't seem to have any relationship with his dad.
His mom,
at all.
yeah. His
He's
dad's out of the
not
picture.
talking to his mom. His mom, I mean, he's making more than one video a day.
He's making 2 a day.
And so when his mom comes by, she just thinks that he's talking to his friends while gaming. And he doesn't really have friends at this time.
So we watched a video called "My Mom Found My Channel" with the O emoji react face. How would you describe this? The shocked emoji react face.
I would say, "Wah!"
Oh my god! Yeah, great.
What?
My mom,
There it is, the what face.
My mom found my channel. She what? He's 17 at this point, and
he's been making money for a while.
Yeah.
Not good money, but money. And somehow, as a minor, making money,
Yeah, how is
hiding
that
this
money
from his
getting
mother.
paid out?
I'm
That's
so confused by this.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which in the last video was playing Black Ops 1, which is a nice little progression there. It's sort of the halcyon days of YouTube where you could use licensed music in your stuff and not be penalized for it.
So this is August 2015.
It is a huge turning point because his mom finds out about his YouTube channel, or in his words, you could probably put a peanut and a walnut together and figure out what I'm about to say, which I'm pretty sure is not a phrase.
That's not anything. But what is interesting is that it's scripted.
Yeah.
This is a big difference between this video and some of the videos that we have in the past, is that is such a strange turn of phrase, but you can tell that it is scripted because of the way that he is now clearly reading from us.
I could put a peanut and a walnut together and count myself a king of infinite space. Were it not that I had bad dreams.
Yeah, good one.
That's Hamlet. That's William Shakespeare.
Like there are still, I think, a few
MrBeast would be great at Shakespeare.
a few parts in here that he's leaving room for himself to, extemporaneously talk. But the big chunks are clearly chunks that he is reading from.
And again, there's like a couple little superimposed images, but this is mostly chatter over unedited footage of him playing Black Ops.
Yeah.
Which is also like, that's a style of video that has progressed and continues through today. I've seen a lot of stuff like that. I play, in the Overwatch community, this is a very common, but it's usually what it is, hey, I'm here to talk about the new changes that have been made to Overwatch or to Call of Duty or whatever. Right. And the video is not pointing that stuff out. It's just something that you can watch while they talk about it.
Is there somewhere it's like, hey, Overwatch community, my wife left me.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what this feels like, because all of a sudden his mom's asking, like, what, so you couldn't trust me with this thing? Right. She's like, no, I just wanted to have a thing that was my own. And he's like, now she started referring it as a YouTube business, not a YouTube channel, a YouTube business.
Which he claims to not like. He claims to not like thinking about it as a business.
Well, and he also just doesn't like talking to his mom about this thing that he's passionate about, right? Like, it's just like...
Apparently the reason that she found out was that in the yearbook, he put his, thing under his picture, his senior picture, one thing you might not know about me is that I have a YouTube channel. That's how she found out from reading the yearbook, according to the lore that they've created. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they both claim.
And that's where things get really interesting. Every time we cover these influencers, you have to be like, okay, how much of this is real and how much of this has been manufactured to fit the lore of this character of MrBeast? Right. Because MrBeast is not Jimmy Donaldson, or it's not quite Jimmy Donaldson, and it's not quite its own separate thing. It is this messy sort of soup of a character that they've made. But these early videos seem to me to be the most authentic because they are mostly unscripted.
Yeah, but they are laying the groundwork. And one of the things that it is laying, that point of, I don't want to think of this as a business, is a very, very important part of the MrBeast persona.
Yeah.
Even in interviews to this day, he will always say the same thing, which is somebody asks him about like money and, you know, how much do you think about how much money the channel makes? How much, you know, what are your metrics? What are your the thing he will always say is, I don't care about money. I just care about creating the best YouTube videos possible, which is true-ish in the sense that, like, clearly his focus is on making bigger and better video. By better, I mean more impactful
the videos.
videos.
Are all about the money.
Correct.
They're all about how much money he, quote unquote, has.
Yes.
And
Even
how
at
many
this
views
point,
he gets.
Even in
That's
this
what it is.
video, he's talking about how his mom was so shocked that he's starting to make real money off of this this channel.
There's a very sad point where he's like, whenever my mom would come in the room and I'd be filming these things, I would pretend that I was talking to friends. I had to act like I had friends, which is horrifically sad. But then most of his childhood friends that did stick around with him are now super rich because they are part of his team.
Right.
He develops this entourage of guest characters that his fans grow and know and love. And it's amazing because if you made Entourage today, it would be about a MrBeast like figure. Like
Jeremy Piven just hanging out with YouTubers.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's the thing, right? Is that there are no real movie stars anymore. The actual, like, most influential people in pop culture are these fucking influencers.
Which is something that I think Jimmy realized from a very young age. He saw where the puck was going. Like, he realized that you can absolutely try to pursue legacy media deals and fame in that way. You can try to come up through the system, or you can build your own audience and be basically master of your own destiny.
That leads us to the next video, Dear Future Me. So we're looking at this. He's 17 years old when he makes this.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is set to go, what, 6 months later?
Yeah, this is not
a super long time.
This is a 6 month version.
Yeah. The only thing that stuck with me in terms of my notes was the comments. Most of the comments in his videos are like, you're just such a good person. Oh my God, how could anyone be as good as you?
You're
Who
the
would
best person on
think-
the planet.
You went from
You've changed lives.
from streaming Minecraft to restoring sight to the blind. This one is all people saying like, I'm motivated to grind now.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the grind set.
This is the grind set.
Because this video is one of a series of videos that he created, and these were not carefully scripted at all. This is literally just him turning on his camera and being like, hey, I'm recording this video now, and I'm going to publish it in 6 months on a schedule. Here's what I want to have be the case for me and for my channel at this point. So, like, future me, when you see this, I hope that you've done the things that I'm about to describe.
There's a giant bottle of lotion perched very sinisterly on the cabinet next to him. He's shooting this thing on an iPhone 6S, which has a camera that is not stable, but he's hoping to get one that will be more stable.
Yeah.
And the thing
That's another big part of the mythos is like that every dollar he made on the channel, he reinvested back into the channel.
Yeah.
So like whenever he does an interview, he's like, well, as soon as I had $30, you know what I did and I spent that $30 on? I spent it on a new microphone.
he talks about a history test that he is not studying for.
Right.
And in every single one of these videos from here on out, he'll be like, do you remember this history test? And what's so aggravating to me is that MrBeast never says if he remembers the history test in the comments.
There's no reaction. It's just like, I remember making this video. Which is a comment made by someone on his team.
Of course.
Yeah, of course, of course. It strikes me as somebody who is so ambitiously driven to achieve that one thing.
Yeah.
He is hyper fixated on this channel making it.
And that's the term he uses all the time, is hyperfixated. Yeah.
Which he doesn't hide the ball about that ever in his interviews. Like the way that he so frequently will say, I don't care about the money really defies credulity, but he is very upfront about just how relentlessly focused on the metrics he is and always has been.
Yeah, and the way that he uses that money for social capital becomes very, very apparent as we move forward. But it is this thing of like, that's how he expresses gratitude, I think, is he just throws money at people.
Yeah.
And so it is, especially once you start getting into more of the, like his thoughts on like, ignoring sort of the evils of capitalism and the people that he idolizes, it is this thing that of like, how could money be bad?
Right.
Because money gets me love and friends.
And everybody likes money.
And everyone loves money. They're always so thankful when I give them money.
Right.
And his first sort of dabblings in this are in the next video that we watched, which is gambling money with scratch-off tickets.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like his 18th birthday.
And that's also why I put this video in, is it's sort of a bridge where this video itself isn't very interesting. It's
No, it's
I mean,
a
none
very
of these
bad
early
video.
ones really are. Unless you're looking for like the greater lore of like the MrBeast mythos.
Yeah.
This is not worth your time, frankly.
Yeah, and it's like I've never done a scratcher. I've never bought scratch.
Come on.
I did when I was a kid, but I didn't realize how expensive they were because I've never bought
$20.
one.
That's really ridiculous. Oh wait, no, I have done a scratch off ticket. I didn't buy it. Josh, you were with me. This was like right after I moved to the city.
It was you that got him the gambling
Did
habit.
I buy you one?
No, you didn't buy this.
Oh.
We were at a bar. Someone we knew, or someone you knew, I didn't know him at all, because I just moved here, was working at the bar. He was working on that play with Joel Schumacher down at a theater company that we will not name.
We shall not name.
And there was a lady the bar was mostly empty, but there was this lady who had come in, who was around our age, who just had bought a bunch of scratchers, and she was like passing them around. She's like, "You want to scratch them?" And and so we did.
And that's always a fun thing to do, is to go into a bar with a bunch of dollar
Yeah.
scratchies and.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. It's always a fun thing
It
to do.
is.
Yeah.
A thing that I've done.
It is a thing that I've seen happen.
It's a MrBeast like thing to do, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So like it was like, yeah, okay, but nothing. She got one that got her like $5, and she was like, "I'm gonna go buy more scratchers," and she left. And Josh was like, "This is textbook sunk cost." This is textbook sunk cost fallacy that she has right here, buying more scratchers.
Was I wrong?
No, of course you weren't wrong. Of
course I wasn't wrong.
That's not really. That's not what we're laughing at, Josh.
Why are you laughing?
No. Honestly, one of the reasons that I have such faith in this podcast is that the minute it went south, Josh would be like, "Sunk cost fallacy," and be out the door.
Tragedy of the commons.
Door would be spinning off its hinges.
But that's an interesting thing, too. I mean, you want to talk about sunk cost.
Yeah.
The fact that Jimmy did this shit for years before starting to
Yeah.
see a penny of return on investment. And
But also, he was a kid.
Right,
You don't need to
right.
see a return on your investment
That's
when
true.
you're a teenager living at home.
And
he
it was-
was a dependent still, you know?
Right. And it was very fortunate that when he became an adult, that's when things started really turning around for him and he started to see some real money.
in no small part due to the fact that he was now bringing in money of his own. So in this
Because
video,
of the scratchers. Yeah.
with the
yeah. He's making a lot of money off
on
the scratchers.
scratcher tickets, of course.
You got the seed money.
That's
a whole negative $15.
I was gonna say that's actually my startup strategy for our business. Is we're going to take all of the Patreon money and invest into scratch off tickets.
Yeah, look, I've been over to Josh's house. The floor is just littered with scratchers.
This is him taking the scratchies and doing it on camera himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A more interesting version would be to do the thing that happened at that bar that one night and give the scratchies to everybody else and watch it, and then like
I give 45 strangers scratch off tickets.
Right.
One is a winner.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
He'd
Yeah, I
make-
mean, but that's the
these
thing,
days
is that,
he'd make
like,
his own
yeah.
ticket, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course. He'd have a golden ticket. I mean, he did do that chocolate factory
Sure.
once.
And then he'd also do the thing where like one person wins, but then there's two other people who end up getting money in addition to
But
it.
he
right? At the
hadn't
end, you know?
cracked that piece of
No.
the formula yet. The thing that he did understand at this point was that people like money. People like videos about money. People like seeing people spend money on things. And
there's a personal connection too. He's
Right.
just turned 18. Here's this YouTuber you follow who just turned 18. And one of the things that he talks about in the video where his mom discovered his channel, he says, you know, there's some money here. I don't do this for the money. I do it for the comments. And I think, again, as a teenager, he's being perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah.
What is important to him, and I think this remains paramount to what's important to him, is he wants people to tell him, hey, I think you're cool.
yes.
Which is the main primary source behind his idols, like absolute mania, who is Elon Musk. And actually, I think that Musk could learn a shit ton from MrBeast.
Absolutely.
Because all Musk
He's
wants
not
is
in the
the
learning
people
business.
to tell him
Yeah.
that he's cool.
Right.
But he has not learned that the way to do that is you give them $10,000.
Yes.
No questions asked.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so interesting, right? Is he begins to cultivate this reputation for being the guy who has been able to make money through YouTube, but who ultimately has very little interest in the money itself. Because the thing that you can't be is greedy. And that's part of the thing that you want to talk about fucking Elon Musk's problem. Is that among the only problem with Elon Musk is that he is clearly greedy. Right? Like he makes stupid financial decisions with the fundamental intention of amassing his own capital, and he never gives that money back in any meaningful way to the community around him.
Which is something that MrBeast has no problem doing.
Correct.
And in fact is sort of the source of his power.
When he does the scratcher video, he loses some money, right? He loses a total of about $15.
It's like $15.
$15, yeah.
And so he comes out with a lesson. This lost me money. It'll lose you money. Don't get scratchers.
Yeah.
Of course, now this video has 3 million views.
Right.
So these scratchers, of course, have made him money. And I want to just draw that line of the distinction.
Yeah.
If you just have a guy with 5 scratchers, the lady who goes to the bar, she loses $15.
Right.
We see that she's lost $15.
Yeah.
If you have a camera on those tickets, if you have an installed audience, if you have a revenue stream linked to that installed audience and that camera, suddenly this is different. This is not a video of a man losing $15 anymore. The reality exists outside of what the video presents.
Right. That points to another thing that he's so good at, which is using the features of the platform to maximize engagement, right?
Yeah.
And he's always going to be keeping an eye on that stuff.
And what's
and
more
prevailing
engaging
trends.
than a lottery ticket? They're built to be engaging for that reason. They have all of these weird, intricate rules and things are going to match up when it's already predetermined by how it was printed in the first place.
Right.
You're not actually doing anything, but it builds your investment, your emotional investment in that ticket, which is why you will have the sunk cost and say, well, I got $5. I'll reinvest that in more scratchers.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and now he becomes the lottery.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, this is sort of the birth of his persona in some ways. That it's like, now there's 5 of them, and the 5th one is out on PC.
This is getting out of hand.
Played it.
Now there are 5 of them.
Oh,
not going to do the accent.
Now we're in the summer of 2017.
It's a year after he did the gambling money scratch off tickets.
And so the big thing of this moment, the prevailing moment, because again, he's always in touch with the prevailing moment of what's going on YouTube, is prank guys.
Yes. And now he's 19. His mom gives him this like ultimatum, right? It's like, well, you didn't do great in school, but like you need to go to college.
Yeah.
You either move out of my house and get a job, or you can stay here and go to community college. And so he's like, I'll go to community college. So he enrolled and never went. He would drive away and start making videos in his car, which is why you see him driving around in his car for this one instead of being in his room.
Oh, right. And then, and his mom found out and was like, oh, okay, well, deal's over.
Well, his mom found out because he finally was making enough money that he was like, I'm going to get my own house.
Right.
Yeah.
So but again, it builds the mythos, right?
Yeah.
That the idea is, well, my mom caught me and so I had to move out, as opposed to I revealed the game to my mom once I had enough money that it wasn't a problem anymore and I didn't have to be supported by her.
And that's the way he phrases it. That latter is the way he phrases it with Joe Rogan specifically.
Interesting.
So we get to this point where he is sponsored by this app called Quid, which is just NFTs, but before NFTs.
Before NFTs were a thing. These are not on the blockchain. It's an app where you can buy a little picture.
Although now I think that because it still exists.
It's on the blockchain.
It's incomprehensible.
I guess it's on the blockchain now.
Some of it is NFTs and then some of it is still just stickers you buy that you can text.
But the thing.
Can you buy Quid with Pops Coin?
Yes. Wait, no, sorry.
No, you can't. No. We haven't had a whole lot of merchants right now. The current number of merchants who deal in Pops Coin, I'd have to check again. I'm pretty sure it's 0.
Great.
Yeah.
But I mean, nowhere to go but up from there.
There are other places you can go. I've been around long enough that I know there are other places you can go.
Listen, we've gotten a lot of viewers since last time we talked about Pops Coin. Do you want to give your quick
the thing about
pitch?
Pops Coin is that all of cryptocurrency is a scam, right?
Yes, correct.
Because of the blockchain. Then the blockchain is very inefficient, right? It's fuel inefficient. It's transaction inefficient.
Yes.
But I mean, especially the carbon cost is just out of control. And anytime they say that there isn't a carbon cost, it's because they're just lying to you.
Right.
With Pops Coin, the carbon footprint is actually quite small.
Right. Yes.
Because it does not work on the blockchain. It is on the Pops chain,
Yes.
which is a centralized, grounded, physical paper ledger that I have in my apartment right behind me on my desk here.
I'm staring at it right now. It's
and
glowing.
if you ever want any Pops coin, you just email us. I'll put it down in the ledger when I see it. I don't check the email that much, but we will get back to you.
Oh, we will definitely get back to you.
We'll get back to you, and then you can have some Pops coin. As for what it's worth right now, well, it's worth 1 Pops coin.
Right.
It is worth 1 Pops coin. And I remember you actually went and found an unhoused person and gave them 1 Pops coin, and they spat in your face.
I didn't know. There's no physical coin. I can't hand it to anyone.
No,
There's
it's like
just
a piece
the ledger.
of it's like the ledger. You give them the ledger.
No. The ledger is
central.
centralized.
Yeah, the ledger is what the value of Pops coin is based on.
I will never understand crypto.
You get your Pops coin. No, this is the easiest crypto in the world. You just get it through email. You just email me,
and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. The only carbon cost is how much carbon comes out of the pencil while he's making the note on the ledger.
Well, and I'm sure like the Gmail servers have a bit of but it's minuscule in terms of handling a single email.
But yes, look, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
At this point,
I would never do a stunt with my Pops coins.
No.
Because I gotta have them. I gotta have my Pops. That's right.
It's June 2017.
A clock ticks.
And at this point, the thing that MrBeast is realizing is that, yes, you can get attention with money, but because prank guys are a big thing, again, we've got the Pauls, Logan and Jake Paul, the infamous It's Everyday Bro, the worst song ever made.
Correct.
He actually makes a video of himself watching It's Everyday Bro on loop for 10 hours.
Yeah, because at this point he's also done his counting to 100,000 in real time. It's a 23-hour video.
He's done that already.
Yeah.
So this is the era of stunts, of big stunts. And what better stunt, may I ask you, is there than getting $10,000 from Quid, the digital collectibles platform, and giving that money to some guy?
Yeah, I believe this is his first sponsorship, right? Mm-hmm. And they're giving him $10,000, and he says, okay, these are the terms. I'm not going to take this money. I'm going to give it away. And so that's the deal that he makes with them in the contract, is that this money is going to be given away. And it seems like with no strings attached at all, especially when we look at the next giveaway.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are some strings attached, which I think is very interesting. Because he gives this unhoused person...
Oh, he has strings. Yes.
Yeah.
But
in terms of
Quid doesn't. Quid doesn't.
Doesn't.
It's 10K.
Oh, man. The mid-2010s, you could just get whatever the fuck from
what
venture
a time
capital.
to be alive.
Yeah, I guess. It's also one of those things that, like, it's like, okay, well, if it's been given away, we can count this as a charity thing anyway. Like, it's a sponsorship deal, but it's also, you could probably get the write-off.
I don't
No.
Probably not the way that this is structured, because this would still be a deal with his production company.
Expense.
Oh,
But-
sure. This one doesn't have the charity.
But the point is, it is a marketing expense that paid off in spades for the sponsor, right?
Yeah.
Right.
10K being the sunk cost for what ended up being a video that got how many million views? Like,
yeah, I mean,
so
at this
many.
point, because this is part of now sort of the modern image of MrBeast, this video has... I mean, even these early videos have tens of millions of views.
But even that back then, this video, the fact that he goes and does this...
Yeah, this is a big deal.
It's a big deal because he'd gotten so much attention by clinging on to the Jake and Logan Paul sphere and doing all these other stunts that were like, wait, you can do that?
And like,
you can watch a video for 10 hours on a loop, whereas now I'd be like, that's not anything.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because like this is also when we're getting like the Pauls are a case study that should be talked about for just a second, because they were Vine guys, so they did little skits, and Vine was a very sort of low grade that you weren't doing any of the sort of trick editing that you do on TikTok.
Right.
This is very raw, and the more raw it was, the more it would catch on.
Oh, yeah. Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
Yep. Welcome to Applebee's. Like anything that Sungwon Cho was doing at this time,
Right.
which is still
Anything
his
that
style.
Bo Burnham
of
was doing at that time.
Yeah, like Sungwon Cho just holds his phone in one hand, and then for the reverse shot holds the phone in the other hand. That's his thing, and it works. The Pauls then, once they pivot over to YouTube, once Vine gets bought by Twitter and quietly put down,
Right.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Shh. Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
And then you hear the music from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's like
But it's only 7 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's a very quick time.
At this point, they build kind of like the first hype house. It's like
Team 10. We've talked
Team
about it in
10,
the past.
yeah.
which is in many ways based off of Jackass. Right?
Yes.
It's like, here's Johnny Knoxville and Bam Margera and his poor father. And it's us doing pranks together, but they're not using cable budgets. They are using fucking just YouTube, which means that there's also just absolute nobodies.
Yeah.
And MrBeast is only a couple steps removed from absolute nobody at this point.
Yeah.
Doing little pranks with each other.
And I mean, the main thing that I think is missing from a lot of the prank stuff on YouTube, especially at that time, is that Jackass knew early on that it wanted to like have this undercurrent of homoeroticism that was just bubbling under the surface. And all of these prank shows on YouTube were the most no homo motherfuckers you could ever hope to like ever dread to meet in your life.
Especially Team 10.
Well, and there's this interesting combination of like we're fucking around and hurting each other, but we're also living this aspirational lifestyle, which is not the case for Jackass or Viva La Bam. You know, Johnny Knoxville is not walking around in designer clothes where he has like made a joint deal with Emporio Armani or some shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like
living in a McMansion.
Yeah.
Well, because also at that point, it would have tarnished the brand of Jackass because Jackass came up out of like skater punk.
It's Gen X. You need to be authentic and you need to be like, you need to live in a shitty, dirty house.
Right.
Yes. Yes. More Grimehouse.
Whereas, that now you have to live in a shitty McMansion.
Yeah.
Which turns into a very grody house, but for very different reasons.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, and MrBeast at the time, even when he starts making a lot of money, he's renting a duplex that's costing him about $300 a month because he has a roommate. And he does that until he gets robbed, and then he has to change houses. But he's still, to this day, his clothes, he doesn't wear designer clothes.
No, he drives nice
that.
cars, but he's also, that experience of getting robbed has made him a very paranoid. He was already a very paranoid person. He is, you read a little bit about like, in terms of what he will or will not talk about and how he will or will not talk about it.
Interesting.
When it comes to anything that's to do with specific details about like where and how he lives, he just doesn't do it, which makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this guy has potentially billions of people who know about him.
right.
You cannot let the world in on your life.
No.
And here we see, this is the first in this playlist that you set up for us, Josh, where it's not just him. He has a guy. He has a second guy running his camera.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that are a little bit weird here, right? He doesn't quite know what to do with the microphone because he's mic'd. But the unhoused gentleman whose name, do we ever learn his name?
No.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually
perhaps intentional.
Deliberate discretion on his part not to have that man's name on
because
the video.
But then he also does ask to see the man's home, like his tent in the woods, and the guy's like,
you have to remember this is it's like, this is still a sheltered 19-year-old who has no idea what the ramifications of what he's doing or what it even means to be homeless or any of these things are. Like,
but he does say, I really can't relate. I'm way too privileged, which is interesting because there is that kernel in there of like, oh, I can't actually understand what you're going through because I've actually lived a pretty good life. I mean, I relatively speaking, I've lived a pretty good life. I just got $10,000 from a trading card company to give to you. Like, I think that's an improvement. But it is very funny. They're just like, do you want to go like get food with us? And I'm trying to put myself in the unhoused man's. Like
he's just there sitting in the car with these guys, and
I'm like, this guy's gonna get murdered.
Exactly. It's like they're holding a camera. I still don't know if they are who they claim to be.
And even when he's in the car, he's like, I'm still waiting to get punked.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he knows the dynamic. He's been around long enough. People turn a camera on a homeless guy, bad things are going to happen.
And also, like, again, that's the era too. You want to like prank. That is the thing. Pranking people in oftentimes a very cruel way.
Right.
And so he's like, I must be the butt of the joke, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, this is a genre of video at this time. I don't think Jimmy's the first one to get to this. You have a lot of prank channels that do give money to homeless people. Now, do they turn off the cameras and take the money back? Who knows? But they're making videos where the purpose of that video is not to look like a prank. It's like, yeah, we do pranks, we fuck around, but we're actually good people. Look at this.
Right.
Look at how we changed this guy's life.
Yeah.
It's very much like Ted Bundy working at the suicide hotline.
Yeah.
It's I have control over who lives or dies, and it doesn't matter which one it is, just as long as I flip the switch.
Yeah.
What were you going to say though, AJ, about like your thoughts on seeing it from that guy's perspective?
Well, that's the thing is that I'm thinking they're just like, let's go to a restaurant somewhere, and the guy gets into their car, and I'm thinking in that moment, I'm going to be killed. Actually, I think to MrBeast's credit, he turns off the camera for
does.
their meal together.
Yes.
Yeah, they go and eat dinner, and he cuts away to when he's back home, and he's like, yeah, so like he because he asked to see the tent that the guy lives in, and he's like, that's kind of embarrassing. I don't really want to. I don't really want to show that. And so, like, you can see him. He really is going into this thinking. I don't even think he's thinking I'm going to capitalize on this, although he is going to capitalize on it. He's thinking I can do something good, and I can do something good using the channel to do it. And he's 19 years old.
And him turning off that camera in that moment is a show of good faith.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that I don't think he would do this now. Right? Like,
No.
I mean,
but also this wouldn't happen anymore because everything is so strongly pre-scripted.
Yeah,
well,
and he has a different angle now for who gets the money.
Yeah, and he also believes that he's lost his anonymity, which he hasn't with the older generation. Like, literally from like millennials up or like parents of kids, like that's sort of the people who know who he is. But he is so anonymous. Like, I asked my parents if they knew who MrBeast was, and like nothing.
No, I'm certain my parents don't know who he is because I didn't even know who he was.
AJ, was that like, were you about to watch an R-rated movie or something? And you
I was. I needed them here. And they came over and they helped. They sang their little R-rated movie song. Don't be afraid of the man with the knife. He isn't real. He isn't real. They pet my back and
okay.
They put me under a blanket and they told me they loved me. And I just loved them so much, you guys.
It was weird they started singing that to you in the middle of the funeral, but like...
Yeah, it was. And blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. The Jesus woman is not real. She cannot hurt you. She cannot hurt you.
Your parents are just like two elves going around singing songs that are appropriate to the situation at hand.
Just one more sandwich, you'll get a free one. It will be good. It will be good.
I like too that you're finding out that what you've been singing has been a modified green sleeves, and now it's just green sleeves.
So at the end of giving a random homeless man $10,000,
which is the title.
We get Jimmy's closing pitch, which is to advertisers. He says, if you're a brand or a company, I want to do this for your brand. Hit me up. If you're willing to pay me money for a sponsorship, I will blow up your spot by making it happen for you. I will do something cool like this for your brand. And this is the secret sauce. This is his thing.
And this is what we see with the burgers. This is what we see. This is a man who makes connections. He is able to get person A and firm B and get them together to get a result out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And make it look like I'm giving a bunch of people my money.
Right. And this is the transition from Jimmy Donaldson to what we refer to as Saint Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the beginning of that. And
this is after he's witnessed 2 miracles. So
yes, that is. No, he's been responsible for 3 after he dies. That's actually the stipulations. You have to do 3. Mother Teresa's really close.
3.
I think she has 1 more she has to do.
To be clear, though, at this point, Saint Jimmy has not really been canonized yet. That's going to happen later.
No.
He's starting to build the legend at this point.
Yes. This is the beginning of that persona. And with that sainthood comes some stipulations. And it's even in this very first video that he gets it. He gives him the money and he says, you can spend this on anything you want, but it can't be drugs or too much alcohol.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there are caveats.
That's what his audience wants to hear. That's what you want to hear. Oh, they're going to spend it all on alcohol. Oh, okay. Well, he said he did. He said he wouldn't.
Right.
But there's no mechanism to keep him from doing that.
No, of course
Thank
not.
God.
Yeah. Again, thank God.
Like everything is taken as said or taken as read.
Yes.
Taking my blues as read.
Fuck you.
Fuck me. Fuck Tim Rice.
Yeah.
Good point.
Everything is about like, I'm a good person. Look at how I'm giving my money away. This guy's going to be fine because he said he's not going to drink. I'm also a good person because I'm making sure he's not going to drink.
Right.
And he's not going to do drugs.
And again,
or
that
whatever.
evangelical Christian background, like that's where you really kind of feel it, right?
Yeah.
That's a very Protestant.
But that's the thing about altruism, right? It's like it can't have those strings attached, or is it true altruism? I don't know. I go back and forth on this because it's like honestly, give them the money and don't give them stipulations. That's what we should do. That's what Jesus fucking said.
I mean, you want to make sure that people are taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that means not enabling someone in some way. But what we found, especially, we have a huge sort of laboratory study now because of COVID-19, because we were housing people more than giving them money, we were giving people places to live in hotels that were otherwise going unused.
Yes.
We did this in Gallup for way longer than most places. And it's like, I remember LA Times interviewed some guy. He was deep in a heroin addiction. He got a house because he was sick, or he got a hotel room, and he was living there for 5 or 6 months. And he's like, I got here and I didn't even have a craving to shoot up again. The whole time I've lived here, I haven't even thought about heroin.
Right.
Well,
which is a deeply, that's a chemically addictive substance.
Right.
But all of a sudden, he was out of the shitty circumstance.
Well, yeah, I mean, it turns out that people's material conditions are still the thing that fundamentally governs their reality.
Yeah. What's interesting, this video feels a lot less disgusting just because you can sense the misguided sincerity behind it.
Yes.
But at the same time, that framing can't be torn down enough because, yes, he was given money up front. That money went to a guy. He has made so much more off of this video than that initial $10,000.
We haven't even touched on the point that like it is using this guy for your own monetary gain, which is a real problem, right? And so MrBeast decides to address this in the next video that we watched, giving homeless people $1,000, parentheses, not clickbait.
It's
Which,
not.
well, you know,
It's
and
not.
you know what? You're asking a lot of questions already answered by the shirt.
Right.
And this is another ad for that impenetrable app about stickers or something.
Quid. Why can't you remember quid? Quid pro quo.
Quid with 2 Ds.
With 2 Ds.
And with this one, he even announces that they have MrBeast stickers, which of course means that he has cut a deal with them where he makes money by having his brand on their app in the same way that, you know, there's Looney Tunes or whatever.
It's affiliate marketing. It's a licensing deal. It's What's interesting here is, you know, I guess he thought that the issue was that he didn't spread the wealth enough the first time around.
Yeah, he got criticism for this video where he gave money to a homeless man for content.
So rather than giving one person a life-changing amount of money, he gave 10 people a not quite life-changing amount of money.
Yeah, right.
$1,000 a piece.
He also runs out of unhoused people, 2 people in, and then just gives it to other people.
It shows you the problem because it's still just $10,000. $10,000 doesn't really do a whole lot to make the world around you much better, although it can help a person. I mean, like,
of course.
There is the reality of the fact that guy got $10,000.
I mean, I would strongly argue that giving one person $10,000 is a more meaningful act than giving 10 people $1,000.
I think so too.
Absolutely, because he talks about what he can buy with that. He's like, I'm either going to get like a used car, or I'm going to get a moped so I can get around, and that's a good start.
Then I can rent someplace.
And in North Carolina, you need private transportation in order to have mobility.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a whole thing about fucking housing in this country that, like, if you have been unhoused, people are less likely to rent to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So he faces all of that discrimination on top of it. And that's not something $10,000 can't solve.
But
it can help.
But it can help because he can actually be like, look, I can give you X amount of money right up front. Like, I can give you a bigger deposit, right? Or pay for a certain amount up front.
Yeah.
It is. Whereas this video, giving homeless people $1,000, not clickbait, just feels weird.
Yeah.
In a way that the $10,000 video doesn't.
And boy, this video is, it's like a Lars von Trier movie.
Yeah. it's really hard to get through.
It's such a queasy feeling, slow burning, awful thing until you get to the halfway point and he's just like giving money to people in a parking lot. But
yeah, there's like these girls and he's like, hey, if you say subscribe to MrBeast, I'll give you money. They're like, subscribe to MrBeast. So here's $1,000.
That's actually the business model now. That's it.
It is.
Yeah. There's a point very early on where he asks, he's like, you know, a lot of people gave me a lot of crap about the first video saying I was using you. And then he asks the unhoused person that he's just given $1,000 to, do you feel like you're being used?
Yeah, that was so
And
weird.
it's like, what is he gonna say?
Yeah, you just gave him $1,000. Like, and he's like, no, it's like the greatest day of my life. And it's like, well, first of all, he's on camera, and all of these factors just don't seem to be entering into, you know, this kid's head.
This kid, like,
this kid,
he does not know that people are going to say something to him differently because there is a camera present and because there is money present now.
But you know what? Yeah. He's hearing what he wants to hear. And that's the power of money. That's the thing that really does give us our full-on transformation from Jimmy Donaldson to MrBeast.
He understands that the camera makes him suspicious. And most of these like first couple donations are in long shots because someone saw the camera and walked away. And then he comes up and he's like, no, it's cool. I'm one of the good ones.
Yeah, I'm one of the good YouTubers.
I have the camera on, but I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to make money off of giving you $1,000.
In the $10,000 video, you do hear a bit of this guy's story. And it is kind of, I think, a way in potentially for the viewer into what the lived experience of being houseless is like.
Yeah.
This video, though, doesn't do that.
No.
You don't hear anything about who they are.
Yeah,
They are fully props.
Yeah, and in that one, it kind of it plays against what everyone always tells you. Well, it's just drugs, or they're just mentally ill, and mentally ill people don't deserve money either.
Right. Jesus.
This guy talks about, oh yeah, I was working here, and then I got to Michigan, and I was working there, and then I got laid off, and it's just been this and this and this and this.
And he's just a guy. And
he's just a guy.
Maybe there's other stuff in his story that he didn't talk about, but the thing that you come away with is not, oh wow, this guy's so fucked up. You come away from it feeling like, oh shit, that could maybe be me.
Yeah, and he talks about like the fact that, because people go like, well, why aren't they in a shelter? And he talks about shelters are fucking terrible because you're just, everyone's in a big room together.
Right.
You have
There's
the
no
most
privacy.
desperate people on earth, hundreds of them in a gymnasium, basically.
Yeah.
You're going to get your shoes stolen. There's people who are doing drugs or even dealing drugs while they're there. And he doesn't, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And so he finds more safety in a very unsafe situation, still living in a tent by the side of the road somewhere.
He does initiate every single one of his interactions with, what is your situation?
Yeah.
He asks them, like, how did you end up this way? But it does lead me to wonder if he had filmed a couple of other ones with people who said they got addicted to drugs and he just didn't give them the money. That's the thing. It's like, what don't we see?
And
What
I think
don't we see
that's
in
a
this?
really good point.
Like, if you want to see, like, in terms of like how things are produced, if you want to see a very big difference between a YouTube channel where MrBeast is throwing $1,000 at a couple people versus like actually depicting homeless people on their own terms. Mark Horvath, who used to be like a TV, he used to work for Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, actually.
Oh, wow.
He got caught up in a cycle of drug abuse and ended up homeless for a number of years. And to this day runs a YouTube channel where it's called Invisible People. He just interviews people and talks to them. And he talks about, he does like educational things. It's like why it kind of doesn't fucking matter if they're just going to do drugs,
Right.
why you should probably still just give people money anyway.
Right.
And it's just sitting and letting people talk about what they're doing. And
Which-
sometimes, yes, they are mentally ill. They are addicted to drugs, but that doesn't invalidate that the needs are the same and can be solved in the same ways.
Right. And it does, I hadn't even thought about that question, AJ, of like, well, what if there was somebody who was addicted to drugs and, the story that is being framed up is like, these are worthy individuals. These are people who are worthy of being given money to. And what do you lose in the edit? People assume that a camera is objective, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you can make cameras do anything you want.
Yeah. And
Because for the 40 degrees around the camera that are being captured by the lens, you then have 320 degrees that are not being captured.
right.
To say nothing of the relationship with time.
An interesting example then of like, we can see the edit in a way that maybe isn't the case with all of these other videos, is jumping forward a little bit to a video, Homeless Man Buys a Lamborghini. This one was published in April of 2019. So we are now a couple years later than these early stunts.
Right.
And in this one, Jimmy is portraying a homeless man? Question
this
mark?
is him doing a prank, but also making a pointed comment in the direction of Universal Media Group because he's had some copyright strikes on his videos.
Oh, that's right.
So
I wonder
dressed,
what UMG meant.
Yeah, he's dressed in like very deliberately distressed clothing that they've slapped a bunch of dirt on.
It looks like shit, and not in the way that like it doesn't look like it's well distressed.
It looks
It's
like a middle school production of Waiting for Godot.
correct. And he is
And
like,
he has a sign that says something about UMG,
but
and
it's like,
everyone's
yeah,
like,
I'm
what
broke
the hell is
because
that?
of
Yeah.
Universal Music Group, and but you know what I'm going to do as my prank today? I'm going to go to a Lamborghini dealership and see if they'll sell a car to me.
And they do.
They do, yeah.
And the guy's real nice about it, and it's fine. And then he tries to go to a bunch of other stores and be like, well, one of these retail employees is going to be mean to me, and none of them are.
No.
Why are you picking on retail employees? Have they not gone through enough?
At most, he just looks like he's been out working all day.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
he does not look or behave or probably smell like he has not been living in a house.
Yes.
Like he didn't have a bed and a bath this morning. Like there's nothing remarkable about this. And he goes to the Lambo dealership. There's also like clearly something going on where they're not really buying it.
Yeah,
you know?
no,
They're
100%
They're not
no.
keeping it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're gonna sell it back later. This is some
because they
other-
don't want to maintain and keep up the prices on actually owning a Lamborghini.
No, yeah.
because it's expensive as fuck.
Yeah. So he then tries to do a couple more japes, you know, where he's driving around in the Lamborghini and he's
exactly
like,
what they are.
you surprised to see me in this? And it's like, brother, surprised to see the car at all. It's a surprising car.
Yeah.
And then he goes to buy some designer clothes and he buys them
And they're fine. He gets a scarf and it's great.
And then his shithead friend, he now has like 3 or 4 people on his crew
Right, yeah.
for this video at least. One of his shithead friends scraped someone's car in a parking lot because he's a horrible driver.
Yeah.
And it's fucking terrifying to watch him continue to drive through the rest of this video.
Oh, it's
Right.
It's hair-raising.
But they ding this car, they scratch this car up, and they're like, okay, what if we just bought this guy a Lamborghini?
Yeah.
And then his mom is like, what the fuck are you talking about? No.
Here's what I'll say about this. I love the fact that this whole part actually was very clearly improvised, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
these are dumb shithead kids genuinely not having an idea what to do, but being like, well, we got to do something for the content because everything
Yeah,
up until this point has been a flop, like a complete flop.
Yeah.
They edited down like that. Everything we've talked about so far is like maybe the first 3 minutes of this like 12 or 15 minute video.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever hit a car in a parking lot or if you've ever had your car hit in a parking lot, there's a procedure for this. You leave a note. Here's my insurance. Here's my number.
Or you make like one of his friends' moms and you just drive away and never speak of it again.
I guess.
But then, what's interesting is when the guy showed up, he didn't really seem to care, but also there was a camera on him.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
So then there's this whole other level.
He did
Anyway, we'll
not
get to
like-
that part. But like, he realizes though, because he has the camera, because he has the channel, because his pranks aren't going the way that he wants them to go.
Yeah.
This is where the content is. This video is showing the development of the modern day Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Over the course of a single day. It's like a Greek tragedy. It's
Yeah.
so like he and his friends, they're like, oh, well, we'll give this guy $10,000. Then they spend $1,000 very conspicuously by going to a sporting goods store and buying camping gear.
Right.
$1,000
And
worth.
taking up a parking spot in this parking garage,
Yes.
which looks to be very busy.
Yeah. There's no guard that comes by and throws them out. It's strange.
Well, they have a camera, you see.
I will say this, though, that like I really understood watching this what the sort of core appeal of his thing was at this time.
Yeah, more
There's-
than any other video we watched.
There's
certainly.
something that is fun about watching a guy hang out with his dumbass friends.
Sure.
It's
Yeah,
the
sure.
appeal of Jackass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is the appeal of this. Like there clearly is, to the extent that it's real, which again, hard to say.
Yeah.
That
Right.
these guys have some sort of a friendship, and it is
Yeah.
their chemistry with each other that actually makes
Yeah.
this interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Thinking about just like the inherent fun of watching friends hang out. When my brother was in high school, he and his friends made a bunch of road sleds.
I'm sorry,
One of
what-
his friends was a good welder.
Like
so
luge?
like street luge. Like they took a door,
Oh, no.
solid door.
Oh, no.
And bolted some trucks onto it, gave it some wheels.
Yeah.
And Gallup's a very hilly town, so they just go down the roadways of Gallup, New Mexico with
Yeah.
it. And then got even more elaborate. So they made, a succession of different road sleds, one of which was named Baby Bertha. One used like a street sign as a rudder so that they could turn it, or they'd like go down the hill and take a fire extinguisher and blast it
That thing
behind them to give it
spark?
like, oh, did it spark? I mean, this thing sounded like a fucking jet engine going by.
See, I feel like
and it's like
that would also make for some great content.
yeah, Christ.
Not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
If Ben was a teenager when YouTube was a thing, that would have gotten views for sure.
He would have gotten $54 million and we wouldn't have to do this podcast anymore.
We would actually be sponsored by your brother.
Yeah, I would be Mr. Bro in that situation and just riding my brother's coattails.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear your point, Josh, about how much do we know that this is true. This feels more true to me because we see in later videos what it looks like when the banter is scripted.
Yes.
And when the banter is no longer fun.
It's like
Absolutely.
a Mythbusters skit. It's horrible.
Yeah. Oh God. It's
and here, like
unwatchable.
especially like when the guy finally shows up at the end of the day because he was probably at work or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, look, yeah, it's kind of scratched up, but clearly something is going on. I think he's worried about getting pranked too.
He's on camera.
Yeah,
You've
and
got
he's
these
like,
boys.
okay.
He's
And
looking,
they're-
he's
these
looking at the
teenage
tent
boys.
that's been pitched in the adjacent parking lot space. Like,
yeah, like, oh God, I have to deal with teenagers. There's nothing worse than
and-
walking to your car and seeing a group of teens.
oh, absolutely.
You're like, God, what
absolutely.
the
They
fuck
scare the
hell am I
living
into?
shit out of me.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't know what to do, and I would be the same way as this man. I'd be like, okay, like
Yeah, because I mean, you have a camera on you. You know this is going out to YouTube. I mean, at this point, do you really know like the reach of YouTube?
yeah,
you know,
and
if
they
you're in
even
that-
look up like the Kelly Blue Book value of the car to find out if like what they're giving him is enough, and they still just do the standard 10,000 except for the 1,000 they spent, so it's 9,000.
Pulls out a sack of cash again. He's
Right.
like, "How about some of this money?" Bam. He puts a brick of money on the hood of the
'cause
car.
the guy
and it's
won't
like, "Are you
take
gonna
it."
take it?" He doesn't want it. The guy doesn't want the
he's
money.
like, it is that is not $9,000 of damage. This is insane.
car
And
isn't even
again,
worth
I would be
$9,000.
the same way. I'd be like,
Yeah.
don't fucking give me $9,000, bro. This is weird.
Yeah. And he eventually ends up taking it, but it's a long,
under extreme
drawn-out
protest.
Jimmy
duress.
cannot.
It's terrible.
Again, he doesn't understand what the sort of larger social dynamics at play
Right.
here are.
Right.
Why someone would just turn down
and
$9,000.
It's so interesting too to see this because he is so like it's money. Why would you not take money?
Right.
Money makes everything better.
Yeah,
Money's how all
makes
these
people
other
love
guys,
me.
because like these guys in his crew are people he's like paying their rent. He's not necessarily getting them on payroll just yet
But
necessarily.
they're not hanging out with him just for fun either.
No, he's taking
No.
care of them. And,
Yeah.
and that previous video was him taking care of a friend at the end. He was like, I ran out of people to give the $1,000 to, but this guy, he needs it. His family's in a rough place, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
he gives like $200 to his cameraman.
Yeah.
To which point I went, oh wait, he's not paying his cameraman.
No.
It's probably extra. I would hope.
Yeah, I don't know. But
And he does that at the Beast Burger.
Yeah, at Beast
When they
Burger.
open the
Yep.
physical thing, he's like, everyone here is going to be getting
an extra
an
$1,000.
extra
$1,000 at the end of the day.
$1,000.
Yep.
It's like his signature amount.
Yep.
Yeah, but also 10 grand. It's either 1 or 10
Yeah,
grand.
1 or
like,
10.
the guy drives away, not really like knowing what happened and like waves, but he looks really uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's like waiting for that Left Behind moment where the car explodes. And
Yeah.
Cameron
Or,
gets
it's
a
like-
gash
or he
on his
finds
knee.
out what they actually did to the car because it deserves $9,000.
Yeah.
Like now that's going through his head. But as he drives away, this is the only time I genuinely laughed in all of these videos. It was just like, wow, I think that really changed that guy's life. And MrBeast goes, yeah. Wonder what his name is. I went, oh my God, we spent 4 minutes and they never asked this man's name.
Yeah.
But this really is at the core then of what MrBeast's content is going pretty much throughout 2019 into the year 2020 is it's him. He's generally coming up with some sort of a stunt, some sort of a prank, or he's playing pranks on his bros.
Yeah.
Or he's giving out moderate amounts of money. And this is a recipe that results in quite a bit of success. But the success that he has reached at this point is nothing compared to what is about to come.
This week's episode is brought to you by Frank. You want to say a few words, Frank?
No, it's okay. I think you're doing a really great job, so you should probably just do it.
Oh, Frank's very shy.
And we are back, and we just wanted to send a message to a podcast that we love, well, we tolerate, called The Worst of All Possible Worlds.
Yes.
Hi, us in 5 years?
Hi, me in 5
Hi,
years.
me in 5
Brian.
years.
My name's
Hi,
Josh.
my name's AJ.
And I
hope
know
in 5
I
years
think the
much
thing
that you're not
you
going to
will
be
be
depressed
proud of me.
anymore.
I
I know
really,
that
really
you
wanna
are
emphasize.
In fact,
still
in
going to be
5
depressed.
years,
you need to have
you're
kissed
gonna
a horse.
be
This is so high concept.
Just like
so
full on the mouth.
unbelievably happy.
Like
Yeah.
feel those.
You're gonna be
teeth run
so
between your ears. You're gonna
happy.
run your hand
You're
down
gonna
that
have
mane
much
and
worse
money
condition,
stare into those
Brian.
And you're
black
gonna be
void
happy.
eyes
Very
and
possible
see yourself reflected
that you
back.
will not be
That's really all I want for you.
alive outside of a cave.
So I said, it's my life, all right? And if I want to live on a beach and walk around naked, that's a Muppets joke. So
yeah.
I really
Okay.
hope future me heard all of that and
Yeah.
understands it.
I just want to say one last message to myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is your life. Are you who you want to be?
Now, as incomprehensible as that was, let's just get back to what MrBeast would tell himself in 5 years,
Yeah.
which is the same thing he told himself in 6 months,
Yeah.
except he now wants 1 million subscribe, and he still wants to know if he did well on the test.
Yeah. This test that he will have absolutely forgotten because none of us remember our tests.
But the interesting thing about the 5-year video is that he is setting some pretty lofty targets that he didn't just reach these targets, he fucking smashed them.
Yeah, so he
Annihilated
wants
them.
1 million subs by October 2020 when this video comes out. At the time that this happens, he has 40 million.
That's too many people.
That's an unfathomable number. Like, for reference, how many people listen to us every week?
Like 2,000.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, God, I can't imagine 40 million people.
No,
like,
I
all
don't.
listening
I mean,
at
I don't
once.
want it. I do not envy fame. I have
Yeah.
no desire for it in my life.
Right.
This sounds like hell to me.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to talk more about that documentary of when he opened MrBeast Burger a little
Yeah.
bit later, but like that's what it kind of looks like it is. Like this
Yeah.
existence seems to be constant anxiety.
Well, and I don't think that at this point, obviously when he was recording this video, he had no frame of reference for any of that.
No, of course not. You just wanna be
purely-
famous. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if that was wanted to be famous. He wanted to have the most numbers.
Yeah.
oh, interesting.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, those are very.
And what's
yeah.
really interesting here is like, so in 2020, we have another big turning point, which is why you're focusing on this, Josh, is that like obviously COVID-19 hits.
Right.
For a lot of YouTube channels, this is great. This was good for the Worst of All Possible Worlds YouTube channel because we made a second video.
We sure did. We did. We sure did, and it premiered to outrageous numbers.
4,000 views.
4,000 views. Yeah.
Hey, let's go.
Honestly, that's pretty
It
good.
got like 1,200 in the first couple of weeks, which is really
Right,
remarkable.
right.
Yeah. People were hungry for stuff, and then we're like, okay, great, we're getting momentum, so let's release a third video, and that's also going to do very well. And it did not. So we actually experienced what MrBeast was experiencing.
Yeah, well,
Right.
MrBeast, his business kind of buckled with the economy in the early part of the pandemic.
Well, and a big part of the reason he talks about this, actually, there's a podcast that he did, and I'll link it in the notes.
Oh.
You probably won't want to listen to the whole thing because it's mostly like YouTube guys gassing each other up, and it's annoying to listen
Yeah.
to. But one of the things that he does talk about a little bit is what he had to do at the beginning of the pandemic in order to keep things going. And one of the big things they did, because again, they needed to maintain a COVID bubble, all of the people working on the show just all moved in with him. Like they,
Which probably wasn't that far off from what they were doing in the first place.
Probably not, but the big difference was now they couldn't even go anywhere. They were just stuck together. And so you see
Hype House
this
2, Electric Boogaloo.
that's what's
Hype
interesting
beast.
is that the
Hype
content
beast.
from this era, the pandemic era
Yeah.
MrBeast content, I think does have a little bit of a Hype House kind of feel to
Yeah,
it, where
that
it's
makes
like,
sense.
we're all here, we're all stuck together, we all have to figure out things to do, and we can't just like go out.
I can't find a
exactly.
stranger and give them money at a restaurant.
Exactly.
Right.
And so what do? Well, you continue to build something with the people who you've already been building something with.
Yeah.
Right.
In these early years where he was still, or that really like this span of one single semester where he was pretending to go to community college and finally everything took off, one of the things that he did was he sat down with 5 other YouTubers. He didn't name who they were in the Joe Rogan interview, but he sat down with 5 other YouTubers and they just looked at videos all day and just looked at the numbers, looked at what they were doing, and graded these things and studied these things on a granular level down to finding out what level of brightness on the thumbnail would be most optimized for the most views.
Yeah. This tracks for me.
Yeah. So it's
because his thumbnails are very bright.
They're
dear
so
listener.
bright.
Yeah.
Dear God.
And it's very interesting to see him come to 2020 and actually hit a snag. So this actually led to the removal of like a couple of people. He had to reduce his staff a little bit. But again, even like the visible parts of like who's on his staff is the tip of the iceberg. This guy, not even counting the food brands, has like 100 people under him in the production level alone.
And it's wild too. Like you can go to his website. He's hiring right now. You want to go work for MrBeast? You can go to his website right now and apply for I want to say a couple dozen jobs.
Wouldn't recommend it.
No, not for the editors, especially. It seems.
Not for the editors.
Because I mean, that's the other thing, right? Is the questions around like those editors and how their circumstances and in terms of employment went is up for question. In an article from the New York Times written by Taylor Lorenz in May of 2021.
Yes, just bear with us. She is a good reporter. We know. We know.
We're not going to be reading her tweets here. In Greenville, many went to work for Mr. Donaldson because of the philanthropic nature of his videos, said 11 people who worked for or with him, 4 of whom asked to remain anonymous because they had signed confidentiality agreements. While he was sometimes generous, they said his demeanor changed when the cameras weren't around. They described a difficult work environment. Matt Turner, 20, an editor for Mr. Donaldson from February 2018 to September 2019, so this is right before the pandemic, said Mr. Donaldson had berated him almost every day. Mr. Donaldson often called him by a phrase used to insult people with mental disabilities, Mr. Turner said. I think we all know what that one is.
Guessing that's the R word.
Leaving him in tears. Mr. Turner, who did not grow up with Mr. Donaldson, said that while his boss regularly featured his hometown friends in videos, he had struggled to get acknowledgement. I was not to be credited for anything I did, Mr. Turner said. I'd ask for credit, he'd credit someone else.
And this is also what happens when you let a kid be in charge of a corporation.
Well, and this happens when you have a lot of people who are sort of uniquely self-determined, who are very, very driven people who then cannot understand that someone else might not have that same level of drive.
Right.
A lot of these people end up becoming theater professors.
Sure do. And CEOs.
Yeah.
Because there's this thing of like, well, yeah, this is your dream. This is your vision. But just because you have that level of obsession doesn't mean that everybody else does or should, because it's not their thing. It's your thing.
Right. Yeah. You are the one with ownership of it.
Right.
That's what the money is for the other people. And it's interesting to see, like, there's another person who went out and said, like, all this stuff is staged. And it's like, is not a credible person. He also talks about, like, MrBeast not showing up to a couple shoots. And it's like, well, of course he didn't show up. He's not on camera.
Right.
And he specifically, and MrBeast in response going on, like, Keemstar and shit, was specifically citing his Crohn's disease, having flare-ups. And I mean, so like I understand that, I have sympathy for that in a way, but it's very clear that this is a guy who is very exacting and is not going to be nice about it if things are not up to spec.
No.
Like if an editor makes a mistake, maybe there's a misspelled title, things like that. It's little mistakes that were adding up. So if someone did anything on the scale of like posting the entire premium episode instead of the gated version of the episode onto the main feed,
the Uncut Gems, about Uncut Gems or something like that.
I'm very lucky to be working with Josh and AJ, who are like, hey.
Oh, hey.
And also because we have the same stake in this. We have the same ownership of this.
Yeah.
None of us are peons. And once we get goons, we will mistreat them as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that is what capitalism dictates, right?
Yeah. Those are the Twowapu goons, and they will suffer.
But it is one of those things where you hear the stories about that where, it's obviously that like he is still young and people who are that young can make these kind of mistakes. But the thing is, he is now invulnerable money-wise, so that he's never going to have to learn to be better.
And he has this great defense of, but I gave him so much money.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's beyond the wages. Sometimes it's these bonuses because that's what he does. He's like, oh, are you mad at me? Here's some more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I screamed at you yesterday. Here's $2,000.
And this is this is not just like an act or a performance. This is, I think, genuinely how he has grown to handle conflict. Is he throws more money at the problem,
much like the Boss Baby.
Oh, good point.
Oh my God.
Good point.
Oh my God. And this is really key, right? Like this stuff is so obscured.
Yeah.
We do not know what things are like at the Beast compound. We do not know if there are Beast wars. We do not.
Motherfucker.
We don't know what transformations could be taking place.
Right.
Do they keep the beasts in cages? If so, how big are these cages? Do they keep locks on the cages? And if so, how big are the locks? Where are the locks manufactured? China. It makes you think, doesn't it? It really makes you start to question.
Carlson?
Yeah.
How is it? Is
Well,
it
isn't
funny?
it
'Cause I had to like close my eyes to realize what you were doing, because when you do it, you look fucking manic.
Yeah, you don't have
you don't have the
the
you don't-
face.
yeah, you don't have the dead fish face.
Yeah, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. But the
Ultimately-
auditory medium. Yeah.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
on reflecting on these beasts, there are questions that we have to ask. Who are these beasts coming down?
Why?
Whose
why-
beasts are they?
Whose beasts are they?
Whose
How
beast
does
is
one,
this for?
Does one have to be a father to be a Mr. Beast? Is there a
This
Mrs. Beast?
If he is male, then he what?
We did it. We got all the taglines in. Lord.
This is how we finally get struck down.
No,
as
well-
Tucker Carlson takes
Well,
his
I just
role.
think this is
Yeah.
you know what this is? This is us optimizing for content.
And this is once we get into this 2020 era too, Mr. Beast puts out the clickbait title, right? I have made Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah.
You click the video, it starts, and he goes, I have made Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. He repeats the title right at the start. We get like a drone shot, and we go in, right? We are finding the template for how this is going to maximize algorithmic reach.
Yes.
And we get this with this strange thing that comes out of 2020. Now, this was a phenomenon that existed before COVID-19, known as the ghost kitchen. Right, the arrival of seamless and online delivery apps, for a lot of restaurants, they found themselves being like completely overwhelmed by additional orders that are coming in from the internet, while also seeing to their same sort of business.
Yeah.
And so you have
if you've ever watched The Bear,
Yeah.
for example, there's a great episode about that.
Every person who's ever worked in a kitchen who I've talked to has been like, I have PTSD flashbacks hearing that printer sound.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
you just end up finding some places that don't really open up a front of their restaurant, where
Right.
they are just a kitchen that delivers stuff. And then you get something even more unique where, for example, there is a pizza place really close to where I work.
Right.
They sell pizza. There's a cheesesteak place really close to where I work. It's the same place, right? Because if you want to find a cheesesteak, you're going to go to Seamless or Grubhub or whichever,
Right.
Which is all the same company.
Right. Or caviar if you're feeling fancy.
Yeah, which is also seamless.
Which is also seamless.
And you will say, oh, I want to get a cheesesteak. Well, this place has cheesesteak in the name. I want to get a pizza. This place has pizza in the name. You don't really think, oh, I bet this pizza place has cheesesteak. So they're listed as two separate things.
Huh.
That's a ghost kitchen. But then you also have this other thing, which is you're a kitchen that's already making a certain kind of food, but maybe that's not doing so well. So someone contacts you and they're like, hey, we have our own menu of stuff that we could bring to your kitchen. It's already equipped with all the pieces you need.
Yeah.
And then you're going to make burgers. You're going to make fried chicken in addition. So like Wingstop has a ghost kitchen called Thigh Stop. Chuck E. Cheese, again, because of COVID, no one was coming to Chuck E. Cheese, but no one wants to order pizza from Chuck E. Cheese if you're
Right.
not 4 years old. You
Yeah.
associate it with the arcade and the screaming children.
And the animatronics that come to life and kill you.
Yes. That's right. They opened a ghost kitchen where you could just order pizza from Chuck E. Cheese without the name Chuck E. Cheese attached.
The other big thing that you end up getting is establishments that solely exist as ghost kitchens.
Yes.
And this is a brand new thing.
There's no place to sit down. There's no window to pick up from. It just exists for a delivery guy to come in and come out.
And so those places tend to be optimized for basically having as many different menus as possible, as is feasible to create within one kitchen.
Right.
And so we have a company called Virtual Dining Concepts.
I love when my dining concepts are virtual.
You know, they took this idea where it's like, oh yeah, Chuck E. Cheese is
be an NFT?
yeah. Oh, by the way, Chuck E. Cheese, if you ever order Pasquale's Pizza, That's Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
Virtual dining concepts has worked with a bunch of different influencers and celebrities, including Mariah Carey for a cookie company, Mario Lopez for a tortas company, Bravo, they have Real House Bowls.
Come on now.
They've worked with celebrity chefs.
Hold on.
Yes!
Real House Bowls?
Real House Bowls.
That's not anything.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It should be Real Bowl Wives.
It's just a bowl of gin.
Or even Bowl Housewives. Like, come on now.
Yeah. They've worked with celebrity chefs like Robert Irvin and the Cake Boss.
Hell yeah.
And again, this
Different
is what,
from the Boss Baby.
and Guy Fieri as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Guy Fieri.
But what these guys are doing is they are determining Pierre Coffin. They are determining the menu. They are making the stuff. Mario Lopez is not designing a torta. MrBeast is not designing a burger.
No.
They're making it and they're sending it over to the kitchen to make with this. It's drop shipping. It's drop shipping for fresh made food.
But I think that an important point here is that there was something unique about the pandemic environment that facilitated this. Like, it wasn't just the fact
sit down and takeout was gone.
But
it went away.
It's not just that. Like, of course it's that, but it's also that I think that during the pandemic, there was a permanent shift in terms of how consumers interacted with the brands that they followed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that pre-pandemic, the idea of a MrBeast burger just would have been like, what do you mean a MrBeast? Like, there's Burger King, there's McDonald's. No, more that like, why would I trust a burger that is best known for being named after a YouTuber?
Yeah, and there are other like YouTuber or influencer based brands where like they worked with Lanky Box for something. They worked with FaZe Clan on some stuff.
Okay.
And they had something called, and I'm sure Josh, you heard about this one, TikTok Creator Kitchen.
Oh, actually, I didn't hear about that one.
Okay, so and this one doesn't even have, it's not even like Charlie D'Amelio's. It's just like Creator Kitchen brought to you by TikTok. Brought to you by Virtual Dining Concepts.
But I think
brought to you by Halliburton.
My point here is that in this period, our brains were so fried because all we had to do, especially in the early pandemic period, in the way of entertainment, was to interact with virtual content that was being served up to us by e-celebs, right?
I wonder if there is a Japanese horror movie made in 2001 that might speak to the feeling that we had in that year.
Go to youtube.com/worstofall.
It no longer becomes unnatural in that environment to then also seek out further extensions of that brand, because that brand or that creator or whatever is honestly the thing that is giving you a lifeline to sanity.
And so the really simple...
Excuse me, I had Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So...
and that's a brand.
Right?
That's a brand.
It is, because we start having influencers come in to...
Elijah Wood
flying into islands, getting turnips.
You tried to abbreviate turnips.
Into turns.
We were trying to do a turnt joke.
Do a turnt joke. It didn't...
how dare you?
Tarnips. Is that better?
Lydia
Tarnips.
Jesus.
There is no hope. So I was trying to see if there was like something where he's like, I wanted to perfect the burger. I wanted to see if there was kayfabe, and there doesn't even seem to be. It's just like, here's a burger, because burgers and fries, very simple for most restaurants to make. Do you know what they operated out of at the beginning? What the first MrBeast ghost kitchens were?
It's a Buca de Beppo, isn't it?
Buca de Beppo.
Let's go, dude.
Hey! Have we talked about Buca de Beppo on the show before?
Yeah, it's Italian for Buca of Beppo.
But do you actually know what it's Italian for?
Yes, it means Giuseppe's cellar.
Yes, but it's more like colloquially translated as like Giuseppe's hole in the wall. So to abbreviate it in English, it'd just be Joe's Hole, which is the greatest name for a family restaurant I could ever imagine.
It's interesting too, because like Beppo is like kind of
out of Joe's Hole.
It's kind of an unusual regional nickname for Giuseppe. It's not a normal one, so it'd be like if a guy named Joe went by like Seth. Go to Seth's hole. So Beppo is like in Final Fantasy VII, his name is Beppo Faroth.
There we go. There we fucking go. I was trying to land that plane. I couldn't find a way to do it. Good work.
So you had these Italian restaurants around like Philadelphia and other places in the Northeast making burgers, and they sold 1 million burgers in 3 months.
That's a lot of burgers.
This
so many burbs.
Was a fucking rocket ship to the stars, and it's expensive. So I watched Review Bra talk about
Yeah.
Mr. Beast Burger. His whole thing was, it's fine.
Yeah.
And he said it's kind of expensive, but the angle, this is where the kayfabe comes in. The angle here is you're supporting your local restaurant. You're supporting the pillar, the staple of your community, Buca de Beppo.
Right.
But in the same way that Mr. Beast is known for giving money to people in need.
People. He's supporting these restaurants by making them make burger.
Yeah.
It's a business, and even more so, you don't just order Mr. Beast Burger on Seamless or Grubhub. It's there.
Sure.
But you can get the proprietary app. You can get the Mr. Beast Burger app. No extra fees for him to pay to Seamless to keep that shit hosted there. This goes straight to the mouth of the devil, or the buka of the bevel.
Of the bevel.
Bevel.
So there was a video too that he produced to basically announce the
Yeah, and so like he does this thing where it's like, we're gonna give away some free Mr. Beast burgers. He doesn't say where. Obviously, he's a local celebrity there in North Carolina. They get some place
in Greenville, right? Greenville, North Carolina.
Near Greenville, yeah. And they get this place that looks like an In-N-Out, but whatever the North Carolinian version of an In-N-Out is.
Cookout.
It's like Cookout?
Probably.
Okay. Because it's like, it's just,
I haven't seen it, but Cookout is
it's
that.
drive-through only, but not like a Sonic. It doesn't have any of the booths or anything. It's just it's just two windows.
It's probably a Cookout. Once upon a time, a friend of the show, Nate Lamagna, and I were in North Carolina and went to a Cookout. And Nate had intended to order some cheer wine with his order, which of course is sort of like the soda that you can only get in North Carolina.
And
they gave him Mr. Pibb and said he got pibbed. He got pibbed. Sad moment in our friendship.
You know, Mr. Pibb also made his own version of Squid Game.
At the end, they got dunked into a giant vat of Dr. Pepper.
What's really weird, if you compare this to the opening of the actual like brick and mortar Mr. Beast Burger place in New Jersey, they don't have professional staff on hand at the beginning.
Oh, sure.
It's his crew making the burgers at the beginning.
Fuck.
They didn't advertise it online, but of course everyone knew it was coming. They just put up a billboard outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and it was just like a block away, and they were like, Mr. Beast Burger, come and get it for free. And it caused so much trouble for traffic that the police had to get involved and shut them down at the end of the day.
Of course, because the man has armies at his command.
They couldn't keep up. So then Mr. Beast was like, well, I'll just start handing people money.
Sure.
He started handing people so much money that they had to go and get more money from the bank in a huge duffel bag to keep handing people money if they weren't getting burgers. And then they were trying to do other giveaways, and some of these are so indicative of like who Mr. Beast is, where he's like, let's give away some AirPods and some more money, and he gives a guy a bag, and he has 3 sets of AirPods to give away. He just gives him all 3 sets of AirPods in the same bag, instead of
distributing it out.
Well, because again, it's like
it does it with 2 iPads as well. Instead of giving 2 iPads to 2 cars, he just gives one lady 2 iPads.
But I think it's so like, you know, love me, love me, love me, love me.
Yeah.
Like, have this. Here, have this. Are you not happy yet? How about you have this? Will that make you happy?
Hot potato. Like, he gets the money. It's just like, get it away from me.
Well, right. Well, and the spectacle of it too is just like, he gave away 2 iPads.
Right.
Holy shit! Imagine being a person who gets 2 iPads. And I did, and I'm like, why would I have a second one? But
I'd make a kiss.
Yeah, it's like,
I wish I had no kids and 3 iPads.
There is something more spectacular about giving 2 iPads away at once instead of giving them to 2 cars in a row 30 seconds apart.
It's a much better YouTube thumbnail.
You know, he has that difficulty in those early videos. How do I give people money and let them take it? You know, you have the guy refusing it. So instead they hand it over to the car, they close the window.
Yeah, they just give it to him. It's like,
you just gave him $1,000.
Oh my
God. He's giving people $100 now too, not 1,000, 100, because it's a lot of cars, in blocks of ones, so that they have a big stack
so
that
you
they can
see
throw
it.
it up.
Yeah, it's very clever.
And I think it's an interesting point that you made too, AJ, that I wanted to point back up again, that it's like the moment that he gets any sort of money or whatever, it's like, it's hot potato. It has to be given away right away. And in part, it's his brand. He's the guy who gives away money, but I think it's also representative of his own relationship with money personally.
Right.
I get the sense that as much as he is constantly swimming in and out of cash, he in part due maybe to his upbringing and the fact that like he was never seemingly wanting for anything, but it also doesn't look like it was like living in the lap of luxury.
Yeah, like he
either.
talks about when he was making his first videos, it was a hand-me-down laptop. It was his
Right.
brother's computer first.
And I don't
like,
think
Right,
that's
right.
just myth making. I think
Nope,
that's,
that's
probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was raised by a single mother, you know,
Right.
like they were fine. They weren't.
I mean, yeah, because she was making money from the military, and
Yeah.
like presumably that pays all right. Like if she's at a certain
you're,
level,
you're
but
living in not quite in the big city in North Carolina.
Right.
You're probably able to afford a shitty private school education, right? Not
Sure.
private school in the fancy way, but
No.
private school in the Southern Baptist way.
But I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
also when you come from that background and all of a sudden you are surrounded with money, it's a tremendously uncomfortable experience.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what money is, and you
Yeah.
don't have a frame of reference for it, especially if you didn't grow up around wealth in any meaningful way.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he talks about it on Rogan. He's like, at first I bought nice cars and I bought designer clothes. And it's like, oh yeah, he did that for that video.
Yeah,
And
right.
but
That
he
was for
he was
content.
still renting
Yeah.
a cheap duplex and having a roommate. But he was like, and I didn't like to do that. So then I started giving it away as though those are the two things you can do with money.
Right.
You
Right.
either make these huge, expensive shows of wealth.
Yeah.
Which I mean, both are huge, expensive shows of wealth. But
Right.
one is either dressing for status and buying the nice things, or giving it all away.
Yes.
Of course, he's not totally telling the truth because he is building a company and he is building a major investment in capital that continues to grow and pay back in dividends.
But with that said, he spends so much money on the videos.
Yeah.
And in some
Yeah.
case, there, of course, he is getting some money in the form of the sponsorship money, but some of it's also coming out of his own pocket. And he's
Right.
gone on the record to say there have been plenty of videos where I've spent way more than I've made back. And that's
Yeah.
probably true.
Yeah. I mean, he makes a gamble. And sometimes, I mean, like the Squid Game video, which of course had a big sponsor,
Right.
right. Had a budget of about $2.5 million, and that first $1 million was just in the money being given away to all the participants.
Well, and
because
that-
over 200 people were getting $2,000 a piece. The second
Right.
place winner got a few tens of thousands, and of course that's $500,000 right there, in the number one prize.
But they ended up spending $3.5 million. Is
that the number?
That's the number.
Oh,
that
it's
flashed on the
3.5
screen.
million. Yeah.
And
that's real money.
I mean, that is real money, and you can see it.
that's a pilot episode for like a full-on
and
TV
and
show.
you see either way, even with the wrong number that I cited, 2.5 million, the money being given away to people is not even half of that.
Right.
Because
Right.
this is real production costs where they are building sets and doing post-production and building a lot of very, I would assume even some cases, proprietary tech.
Yeah.
Very elaborate tech to spot people who are still running during the red light, green light game, and to
Right.
fire off the little squibs that are in their costumes and things
Squid
like that.
Game.
So
Absolutely.
at this point, with $456,000 Squid Game in real life, this was released on November 24 of 2021. And this was another thing you want to talk about. Like, again, the way that things were during the pandemic is that there would be a thing. And because everybody was fucking stuck inside,
Yeah.
all we could do was talk about a thing. So remember,
Tiger
it was
King.
Tiger King.
Yeah, God.
And then it was Squid Game. And MrBeast.
One of those things is good.
And so Mr.
Yeah, I
Beast
like
having
Tiger
this
King.
tremendous savvy for like what's going on and how to spot trends as they are sort of like arising. So much of this shit is in the timing.
Yeah.
And I don't know with this video how his team was able to pull it all together, honestly, because it is very,
insane.
very impressive.
Yeah, the first note I took is, he has money now.
Yeah.
Because the sets look almost identical.
It's a huge production, and he uses it to make a single video.
Right.
He could have done a
Right.
video for each round.
Yeah.
He shortens this. So it's interesting to like compare what he's doing with reality TV. Reality TV,
Yeah.
you stretch everything out. You show the same thing happen 3 times.
Well, because you want to save as much money as you can. You want to get as much content as you can out of a relatively small amount of source material.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And so like if you watch Cake Boss or whatever, it's like coming up next and they show you like a full minute of stuff and then
Right.
it comes back and you see that full minute of stuff again. This
Or what would you do with John Quinones is the same way.
Yes. And this, you barely see fucking anything. It just keeps moving.
Yeah,
which is
it flies.
and it makes it honestly, I think, fun to watch.
Again, this is the first thing I had any idea of who MrBeast was from this video, and people were like, "What the fuck? Like it's Squid Game. It's a nightmare."
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
you know, people want to go to the Friday the 13th experience.
Sure.
You know, and Squid Game itself kind of stops having any pretension of being anti-capitalist art about halfway through, and it kind of becomes more of a typical drama TV thriller. Right. And it's fun. And I see something of like his talent and what he could do with it because he is a very good host of this show.
Yeah, but again, there's just a nervousness about him.
That's true.
In this that makes me feel nervous as somebody watching him.
Well, and the weirdest,
he's gotten louder.
Yeah,
I'll say that he's learned to
he's
project,
not mumbling anymore.
but he can speak very confidently, and he can end his sentences.
Yes.
And
Something I certainly cannot
read
do.
his. He can read his ad copy perfectly.
Yep.
And he can do it while in the middle of something in a way that you can't just go back and redo the tape.
And that's hard,
Yes.
too, when you're
That's tricky.
surrounded by as many as 456 people and you
who
have
all
to...
probably want to touch you,
Absolutely.
you know, get at your cloak so that their menstrual cramps can finally leave them.
Yes.
Like in the Bible.
Absolutely. Up until this point, too, he hasn't done anything with randos on this scale. You know, a lot of the stuff that he had to do in 2020 and early 21 was the stuff that was like with his quarantined bubble and team. You know, there's a video from December 2020 where his friends are competing to decorate houses with Christmas lights, and whoever wins gets the house. It's weird.
Yeah. Or like, he orders a pizza and then is like, here, pizza guy, here's the front key to the house. You own this now.
This
You
is-
enjoy property tax.
Hope you can afford it.
But the stakes for something like a game show are much more immediately legible.
Yeah.
And all of the participants are bought in fully to what they are doing, which is an interesting difference from a lot of the other stuff that he does where he's just like,
there's no coercion. Right?
No.
There's no unsuspecting stranger. These are people who signed up in some
And there are people
way.
who have seen Squid Game, so they
and there are probably people who've seen MrBeast.
and who know how this whole thing works. The other thing about this is that it's not entirely randos, right? They've done a shit ton of research
of
on
course.
everybody that they brought in because they have to use one of the tasks where they turn them against their best friend.
Yeah, which again just requires a lot of people.
It requires a lot of
Behind
research.
the scenes.
Okay, this is a thought that just came to me, but this is the rehearsal, right?
Well, it's also Paradiso, the escape room I used to do years ago, where we would like dig up people's lives and like their Facebooks and their LinkedIns and everything and find relatives of theirs and all that stuff.
But there is something like Nathan Fielder in the rehearsal is playing a character version of Nathan Fielder. But I think the character that Nathan Fielder is playing is actually incredibly similar to MrBeast.
I
Explain more.
agree.
So there's something about the learned performance that MrBeast has that I think is incredibly similar to the character that Nathan Fielder plays. There is this longing for like wanting and like belonging. It's just that the fact is that, you know, Nathan Fielder, for the most part, on Nathan For You was working with like, you know, cable level money, right? He was not getting HBO money. But the minute he did with the rehearsal, all of a sudden we're seeing these incredibly elaborate sets being built to make these experiments, which I think is what MrBeast is also doing, just on a more charitable scale.
Sure.
Well, and it's also with his own production company, right?
Yes,
this is
right.
not money being given to him by YouTube because it doesn't work that way.
Right, because it's also, he's not making art. Is the other
No,
thing.
nor does he have any aspirations or pretensions of making art. He is making content. He's making videos.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into the debate of which one is better. I actually think that both of them have a very specific place in our world. I think that like
we're not making art.
no, well, okay.
We do. I mean, especially
do.
your commercials. But
There
like
are points.
a lot of what we do is we're summarizing shit that we watched and making commentary on it.
Right.
That's not a lot of times really an artistic
No. I completely
artistic pursuit in the same way that other things like our more meticulously crafted video essays that no one watches.
Right.
Yeah. That those I consider to be more akin to art, especially you know when we bring a lot more of the personal
And it's not
stuff
like
into
it's not
it, I
like
think.
we don't do work on this. We're doing work on this. It's a different thing. It is just a fundamentally different thing.
It's an entirely different kind of work altogether.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different kind of work.
But like, this is fun. I find this like largely unobjectionable, especially now that like Netflix is doing its own Squid Game that is going to be episode by episode. But like, I could see MrBeast like hosting American Ninja Warrior or something like that.
Yeah, I do wonder once we see like the Netflix show whether it will have this sort of joy to it.
No,
that
it'll
this
suck
MrBeast one.
fucking dog
It's
dick.
going to be.
It's going to be a lot more.
It'll be all grim dark, and it'll be like we live in a society.
What this reminds me of more is Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
Right, which aired in America as Most Extreme Elimination Challenge with the little jokey dubs.
Oh,
but
it
it's like,
really feels like
here you
Takeshi's
have
Castle.
this
Yeah.
very famous, very rich comedian beat Takeshi, and he's just like, hey, what if we win Ben Stein's money here?
Yeah,
For me to draw a comparison to yet another show where you don't actually win Ben Stein's money. That's coming from Comedy Central or wherever.
Right.
But
Thanks
it's
for
like,
the clarification.
what if
Ben
we have
Stein appreciates it.
100 people
He's gotta
start
go on
out and try to
anti-vax.
run up on Takeshi's castle, and they do a bunch of
Yeah.
things. And MrBeast, to his credit, to his production company's credit, they're not hurting people the way that Takeshi is fucking hurting people.
No, it really it's actually all very good, clean.
all of
fun.
the things that look
Yeah.
like they're on high platforms are absolutely not. It's all green screen.
Yep.
When they do the jump across the plates thing, they have a very specific system where it's rigged to fall a few seconds after they land. They've coached everyone on how to jump onto the platform, hold their arms in, stand right at the middle so that they don't hit their head, they don't hit their arm on the beams that are holding them up, and everyone falls safely and comfortably
and
into the foam.
it's nice
Yeah.
too because it's like
And they
you
all get
can-
money too.
Yeah.
Everyone who loses gets money, I think, except for the red light, green light at the beginning.
You can tell from this too, like to the point of preparation, how meticulous it's been.
Yeah.
The fact that they are able to do these things because having been on a game show myself,
right.
Josh was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
I don't think that's ever
and
come up.
Terry Crews picked him up.
pick me up and spun me around. He turned me into someone new.
It's a delightful moment. If
Any
you can
Human
find
League
it.
fans out there? Anyone?
Somebody make a fan cam of Josh just from that episode.
Oh God. So I think it's interesting when they prep you for being on a game show, they have to drill stuff into your head over and over and over again because the moment that you do the thing, you forget everything. And this is
of
just
course.
like,
I mean, the cameras turn on, the lights hit you.
it's so weird. Like
Yeah.
I've never had an experience like it where
Jeopardy rehearses people, right? They get people on the stands. They have a one of the staff as host. They run through the order of operations, how the buzzing works, how the answering works, how to call out a clue, do all that
Because-
stuff that seems so easy when you're just watching it on TV.
But it's not.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, now I have to do it.
I have to say that and push the button?
You only get one shot is the thing. As the creative team producing it, as the producers of the show,
You better lose yourself in the moment.
you gotta.
Did that fucking, I mean, because especially Millionaire is just built to stress you out. That's the whole
Yes.
point. And so you get those lights on you. You have this beautiful, enormous man looking at you.
But Squid Game is also built to stress you out.
Yeah.
In a different way, obviously, and in real life.
the
Yeah,
little
in this one,
chants
not
and
so
the-
much.
yeah.
What's so
Yeah.
striking to me about this version of Squid Game is everybody is actually pretty okay losing. Like,
they're
there's
having
no
fun.
temper
Yeah, they're having
tantrums.
fun.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't seem like a particularly violent process. Unlike the Netflix Squid Game, which is apparently
people
just
are
a
getting
fucking disaster.
terribly injured and everything like that.
Oh,
And it's
like, in the recording of
Yeah,
this
there's like dangerous
show?
temperatures that they're
There's some
keeping them
articles.
in.
Yeah.
Dumb.
And No such article on MrBeast. You got to give
Yeah,
him credit for
right.
that.
Gotta give him credit.
But one of the weirder things is like as a host, he's in the middle of the action,
Yes.
which is very strange. But
Yeah.
it's so
works.
telling as to who he is and to who his persona is.
Yeah.
All of his crew is there too, kind of fucking with people a little bit. But
Yeah.
he is walking around in this fucking long black coat, like talking about things while everyone is still frozen in
Well,
red
it
light
sort
or
of
whatever.
stands an interesting tension also
Yeah.
to the source text because, like, you know, he is just being kind of a jolly clown prince
Yeah.
and a very affable, like, he's not intimidating, he's not scary, he's not trying to put the fear of God into the contestants. He's just out there to have fun.
Yeah, and in Squid Game, that's a story about someone who wants to build a utopia. It's
Yeah.
like the perfect meritocracy. Everyone has chosen to be here, though not really, right? And the show
right.
portrays that so well with the second episode, especially. Like,
Yeah.
why they come back is they have fucking nothing else.
Right.
But they've
Yeah.
chosen to be here. They've volunteered to become a part of this. And if they lose, it's by their own accord.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's not. And it's funny because MrBeast is like, what if I could do that for real, though? What if I could make this utopia where it is a meritocracy and also everyone likes me?
Yes.
There's a wonderful moment where Mr. tells a man to hop into a coffin, which is such a delightful, like, deliberate
lie in the
misunderstanding of the main source material.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of lampshading
Oh,
it.
I'll
It's
be
fun.
fine.
And I guess the question that I have, ultimately about this is like,
Yeah.
obviously a lot of hue and cry. I remember being like, well, this is just missing the point of the source material. And it's like, personally, going back and looking at it now, I'm kind of like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Maybe it
this
seemed like
far
that
out,
when
yeah.
you attached yourself to it right when it came out, but it's just like, this is kind of fun.
also, Squid Game is not that trenchant of a commentary.
No.
It does say that capitalism is bad.
It has its
It
great
certainly does
moments,
say
and
that.
then it gets like
Yes.
it gets
Yes,
so
yes.
in the
Ah,
weeds
yes.
about like what that police officer is up to and all of this other stuff, and you're like, oh yeah.
I had a
It's
really
still
great time.
a very fucking well done show.
Yes.
I
Yeah, and
hope
it's
that
so
season
well,
two,
and it's so
yeah.
well acted.
Yeah.
I
The
really,
acting, I think, is the thing that really brings it home, honestly. Is
Yeah.
it's on the
Yeah.
strength of the performances. But it's like, now what we have here, this becomes his defining thing. He is now
Yeah.
on the fucking map. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody.
This was on TV.
Yes.
Like people talked about this all over the place. To
Yeah,
the point
yeah.
again, like to the point where it even reached me somehow.
well, because Squid Game was so.
I live in a cave.
Right. But
With
it's a
an ice
very
cream
nice
truck
cave.
outside,
It's got lovely fluorescent lighting and a single throbbing note that plays once every hour. But there was a point where like Squid Game was so like entrenched in our society
Yes.
that like doing this, of course it would put him on the map because no one was really talking about anything else.
And it's now gotten, at this, as of right now, 379 million views. And I know that, like, right after its release,
Yeah.
it was already hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting to me, too, about this is, like, I think they probably had to get the license before doing this. You might say, like, they...
Yeah,
I
just
don't know.
It's just like my thought is maybe that was part of his calculation for doing just one video of this, because then Netflix would be less likely to sort of shut down this
Sure.
operation. He
Right.
could put it out as one single video, and then that would be it.
Or
But
maybe
it's-
he
that
put
makes
it
sense to
out
me.
and was like, you know, if they end up coming for me, we'll negotiate a settlement later
Yeah,
on. But
it's
I never
so-
heard anything about litigation
No,
here.
it's
so-
true, but it might just be one of those situations where it was like it was so popular, it generated such goodwill, and MrBeast specifically himself generates nothing but goodwill.
Right.
yeah.
That it would be a PR disaster to go after him.
Yeah,
Right.
that is also
because
possible.
you'd have millions of screaming children.
Right.
Yeah, he's become a teddy bear. You can't
Yeah.
punch the teddy bear.
And this is really then at this point where we start to see the canonization of Saint Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because
His name is Saint Jimmy. He's a son of a gun. He's a resident of life and crime, yo. Oh, welcome to...
just wanted to see how long you're going to keep doing that. Because, yeah, at this point, he's the guy who gives people money. And he's
Yeah.
the guy who helped local small businesses succeed during the pandemic. And he's so fun and he's so nice. And he had that silly thing where he was Willy Wonka. And isn't this all so great now?
Yeah.
Well, that silly thing where he was Willy Wonka and slowly dying.
Yeah,
we find
so
out.
there is this weird dark undercurrent, and we'll talk about the video, and then I'll give a little bit more context to it. But so we have this video. So he does some things, right? It's like we were at Area 51 for like a week or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
in the desert for 24 hours, and it's like big deal. I've been in the desert for years.
Get on my level, bro.
You know, this guy has to sit in a circle for a full month or whatever.
Right.
So this is MrBeast himself saying, "I didn't eat food for 30 days."
Yes.
Which is a lie.
Which is not true. Again, it's like the homeless man buys a Lamborghini. It's not actually what the video is. It changes its turn.
And at this
Right.
point, we are jumping forward quite a bit because that was Squid Game was November of 21. Now we are in the summer, July of 2022.
Yeah. And so this
So
is
by
an
jumping
interest-
forward a lot, we mean like maybe 7 months.
Yeah,
like
this
it's
is
so incredible the timeline of how quickly
Yes,
he
yes.
exploded.
Yeah, and he now is making he's releasing one video a month. He's making a bunch of stuff at the same time, which we see in this video. This is a look behind the scenes in a way.
Right.
But this is so far removed from his days of putting out 2 videos a day,
Right.
one video every 2 days, whatever those things were. He has found something that works for him as this consistent thing. I mean, he's putting out more videos on some other channels.
Right.
But MrBeast videos are regimented.
Well,
now.
it's the flagship. And the thing
Yeah.
is, too, a lot of the content is dictated by what deals they are able to strike with their brand sponsors. Because we didn't mention that Squid Game, there's a big honking mobile game ad in the middle
Yeah.
of that video.
Yeah.
And
And,
the mobile game is the sponsor that provided the main prize money.
right.
Yeah,
Right,
and
it's
I
not
love-
his production expenses.
I love that they like during the ad part, he just asks somebody like what they think of the mobile game, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty good." And they kept it in.
But then he starts reading like the ad copy. He's like, you can download it now on him because he wants to be in the Mr. Beast
Right, of
video.
course.
But he hates the game. It sucks.
Yeah. It does not look to be a very good game.
And so Mr. Beast sort of starts this. He doesn't explain what he's doing, right? He says, I'm not going to eat food for 30 days. But of course, he has to get nutrients somehow. He doesn't go into that. He just says, oh, I'm being observed by a doctor.
And I'm drinking water and eating ice cubes.
Yeah. And he's he's drinking juice and stuff like that.
Presumably.
And broth.
Yeah.
Broth is a big part of this.
But there's
and
not,
so
he's definitely not getting carbs.
No, and he's going around, he's weighing himself, and he's seeing how much weight loss he has. He's not a big guy.
No.
And he's losing significant amount of weight in like 2 weeks time.
Alarming amounts.
An alarming amount of weight, but it's always presented as like lost more weight.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't argue that it's like a, wow, it's so great that I lost this weight. It's more just like, this is a value neutral thing. Like, this is what it is, and I lost this weight, and isn't that kind of crazy?
I mean, I'd
guys?
say because of the fact that it's Mr. Beast doing it, it is presented positively.
Sure.
And because of the bright colors of the weighing room and the things like that.
Yeah.
But there's certainly no negativity about
the Sweet D
really
spotlight
extreme
in the face.
weight loss.
Yeah.
And this is an ad. This whole video is basically an ad for his chocolate bars.
Right.
Yes. Disconcerting in its own way.
And so like almost everything he does during this month is food related because he's kicking off the chocolate bar ad. He's doing a video with Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
It's like it's very this video is it feels horrible.
It's so cursed.
It makes my skin crawl. Like I feel the hairs on my arms stand up.
It's a very because I mean there's a few things at play here, right? First of all, there is the fact that now we see this increasingly tight integration across the different verticals of the Mr. Beast empire, which he's spinning up and basically tying back to the flagship, I guess. Yeah. But that all of this is so carefully calculated because he found a lot of success doing these increasingly extreme stunts. Like he did another one where he was buried alive.
Oh, for 2 days or something like that.
But he's like the David Blaine of people that you don't fear for your life when you're around. You know?
Well, speak for yourself.
He's not just staring at you chewing on glass.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing that I guess I should mention now too, especially after Squid Game, the popularity of that.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast, of course, has a lot of international fans because one day he just Googled how much of the world speaks English? Yeah. And he saw it was, less than 10% of the world speaks English or whatever. And he says, oh, well, I'm missing out on 90% of my market share.
Right.
Now, of course, with YouTube, you can have captions teams and things. It used to be you could open source the captions. You could have your community write your captions in Portuguese or whatever. He dubs his videos.
Really?
Whoa.
You can watch Mr. Beast English, Mr. Beast Spanish, Mr. Beast Portuguese, Mr. Beast Russian. And of course, the way YouTube does that, you don't have a setting that you shift. That has to be a separate channel. And in those separate channels, for all of their titles, they even have translated versions of the title cards.
How do you say in Portuguese?
And so he has to get voice actors, and there has to be quality control so that they know that the translation is going. So they have 3 people for each language, checking to make sure everything is right.
Oh my God.
For the writing, for the voicing, everything. And he gets famous voice actors. Like the guy who does his voice in Japanese is a voice actor with over 500 credits.
Holy
shit. A guy who does shit tons of anime and video games and all of that stuff. No, there's not a lot of people doing this. I don't think PewDiePie does this. I don't think the Pauls do this.
Well, I wouldn't expect so, but also...
But Mr. Beast does dubbed videos to increase his reach.
Right.
Yeah, that's why he won. That's why he's now beaten PewDiePie for subscribers, because he's adapted to the market in the way that PewDiePie is actually a little too old now.
Yes,
now he does this thing where it's like, between this video and the next, whoever subscribes to me in this time, one of you will be randomly chosen and you will get $10,000.
Yeah.
Or if you like or if you comment in this one, you will get this. And he does that for the different language ones too, to get them off the ground. Because what does that do? That boosts your metrics. You get a lot of comments on a video. That's going to show up for more people who do not already watch Mr. Beast.
He's a fucking scratcher.
After I watched one Mr. Beast video, it didn't matter. All of my recommendations were MrBeast at that point. Like he's completely hijacked it.
Yeah,
This
I'm gonna
goes
have to clear my history after this one.
This goes all
For
the
other
way
reasons too.
back to those early videos where he's talking about how PewDiePie was able to do this, that, and the other thing to get his way in. And you just see this. You see this relentless optimization for every single point of the algorithm. And when we're talking about something like not eating food, which is literally, obviously, the thing you need to do to be able to survive.
He's doing Morgan Spurlock in reverse.
Yes.
He saw Morgan Spurlock was like, what if I eat terrible food for 30 days? What if I eat nothing for 30 days?
Yeah.
Which is way more extreme.
The thumbnail says day 19 on it, and it shows him being very agonized in pain. He does not make it past day 15 because Gordon Ramsay makes him a breakfast sandwich, and when Gordon Ramsay makes your breakfast sandwich, you fucking eat the breakfast sandwich.
He's so mad at him. But also at that point, he can't eat the sandwich because he will go into shock.
Right.
So he takes a bite and then he spits it out, but according to the rules of what they're doing, he can't even take a bite and spit something out, which is why he couldn't take a bite of his own chocolate bar when they were doing the ad for it.
Right, he had to pretend to like his own chocolate bar, which is probably not great for that ad.
The actual context for this changes things a little bit, and he doesn't talk about it because it's his health. It's something that people don't like to talk about in general. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't have to talk about it.
Sure.
He has Crohn's disease. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Oftentimes can be incredibly debilitating for him, and especially in his teenage years, right? He had severe weight loss because he just couldn't eat. That's why he did the fast.
Oh.
He was doing it because he was having trouble with inflammation in his gut, and he was giving it a rest for a while.
Well, I mean,
which
that's
also makes the
thing.
like constant tormenting by everyone on his crew. I know it's scripted and part of their whole thing.
Yeah.
Makes it seem really awful. And it's
Really
also
cool.
very strange for him to talk about not eating and extreme weight loss in this way in this video to children without having that important bit of context.
Well, there's also other bits of context that I found very alarming, which is I didn't know anything about the juice or the broth.
Yeah, he doesn't talk about it.
The way it presents in the video,
he's just drinking water.
He's just drinking water and eating ice cubes, which leads to a kid to think, "Oh, I can just do that." It has to happen, but there's no evidence of that in the video
or elsewhere. It's not documented. So,
which is really bad. Like that video is still up, and it has how many 100 million views?
It's one of his biggest videos.
But the other thing that's so interesting to me about this too is that the content machine can never slow down, right? So as he was recording this, he had to turn it into a stunt and probably honestly go harder than he otherwise would have to for the sake of the
he's
stunt.
Still doing full production days, traveling and doing public appearances.
And the thing is, if you watch like the Willy Wonka video, for instance, which I had originally put on the playlist, but then removed later on because I was like, part of the reason that it sucks so much is that he's exhausted and you can tell.
And you see in this video all the breaks he has to keep taking because he can't do like more than 20 minutes of work without having to like leave the set and sit down.
That's the other thing, right? He's trapped inside a system that's going to make him always go bigger and bigger and bigger. But you start seeing with these kind of channels, like, I mean, think of fucking Epic Mealtime, right? This channel that started out doing like kind of outrageous things like what if we put like a couple of Big Macs together and like ate all that, and they just had to get increasingly wild and wacky with their things, but there's only so far you can go.
Also, and I genuinely don't know how he tops $456,000 Squid Game. Like it's just I don't know that he can, and maybe ever.
The last video on this playlist is close. It's going to have to start being extreme philanthropy in the form of curing people of their blindness.
So this is titled, again, this is a false title. This is 1,000 blind people see for the first time. This is wrong. These are people with cataracts. There might be a couple of people who haven't really had good vision before this point. If you've ever read Oliver Sacks, you know that can lead to not necessarily being able to see anything because your brain hasn't made those connections with your ocular nerve and things like that. But most of these people are people who, over time develop cataracts. Cataract surgery is very simple. It's an inpatient procedure. It is done very quickly.
It's like a 10-minute surgery, they said?
An outpatient procedure, you mean?
Sorry, it is an outpatient procedure. It is done very quickly. And I mean, it really does change lives. You go from not being able to fucking see anything to being able to see so clearly that sometimes you, like, my uncle got cataract surgery a few years ago wore glasses as long as he could remember, doesn't wear glasses anymore.
Oh, wow.
Right.
You know?
Right. And someone in this video takes
happens
off
to her,
her
yeah.
glasses and she's just like, I don't need these anymore.
And so this video was the discourse bomb of end of January,
Yeah.
beginning of February.
Yes.
This video begins with him sort of quickly clearing info about what the surgery is, what it does. You know, that takes out the cloudy lens, replaces it with a functional artificial one. And then it, like, for the rest of the video, it's pretty much just videos of people who clearly have not been able to afford this procedure getting it. And then in some cases, he also carries out a big suitcase of money and is like, here you go, here's $10,000.
Yeah. He
And then-
also needs to give them money sometimes.
He also needs to give them money sometimes, and then in probably the most egregious turn, he inflicts a Tesla upon somebody.
who's never driven. Because
car.
he's like a teenager and was too blind to ever begin to learn how to drive.
Right. And so they get in a car with him and they drive with him for the first time and he runs over a bunch of cones. But obviously, because he's never driven a car before. And also it's a Tesla. And so it immediately goes for the pedestrians and he has to kind of like yank it away.
Very weird. Very weird. Like, getting cars is such a liability. My mom had a friend who lived down the block from her who was on The Price is Right and got a car.
A brand new car.
And it was a very nice car. She drove it around the block a couple times and then sold it.
Oh, of course.
Because then that way you can pay the taxes,
Right.
and also you have money,
Yeah.
and you don't have like these added expense. It's like giving someone an airplane. What the fuck are they going to do with that?
Right.
That's the most expensive thing you could ever have in your fucking life.
And here's what's really funny. In like 3 years, it's going to be, I bought 10,000 orphans an airplane.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause that's where it has to go. It has to get bigger.
It has to get bigger because at this point, Saint Jimmy, as we know, is pretty much fully canonized. Because this is the other thing, is it provides you with sort of a PR shield where if somebody criticizes you for anything, you can be like, well, did
got the blind to see.
Did you heal 1,000 blind people?
This is what philanthropy is, right? Carnegie gets Carnegie Hall.
Right.
Juilliard gets the Juilliard School. So he gets to have a legacy of teenagers being tortured by bitter old musicians who could never make it.
Absolutely.
And Mary Rogers.
And Lydia Tarr.
and of course the whole push for making public libraries all across the country by these robber barons. More than that, you have Bill Gates in the modern day. You have also entertainment built around this. You have Richard Simmons' Dream Maker. You have Oprah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I mean, there was a point when Extreme Makeover Home Edition went out on the Navajo Nation. It was big news. We're like, oh wow, this big production company is going to be in Gallup right now. They're going to be shooting this whole thing. They're making a house for people. And then a year later, they're like, we can't afford this place.
Right.
Like they made it with high ceilings. So like the air conditioning is through the roof.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, oh, they made a big show of putting like solar panels outside, but it wasn't enough to actually provide enough power for the home. They're still hooked up to the grid. They have to pay a lot of money for utilities.
Right.
And they had to move out.
Which I think this is the key to all of this, right? Is this is not shouldering any of these people with any sort of burden, other than the kid who got the Tesla.
Yeah, this is
That kid's going to have to go for accidental homicide.
Yeah, a suitcase full of cash.
But with that said, there is still something weird about how this is not ultimately for them. Not really.
No.
This is for MrBeast, obviously. This is for him so that he can continue to grow his brand. And it's, it's for content.
Well, and this is the dream of liberalism, that you can become an individual who is a virtuous person,
Yes.
who gives alms to the poor,
Yes.
and manages to profit off of it. But of course, if you actually scale up what he's doing, it's just 1,000 people.
Right.
That's not that many people.
If you actually
And that's
were to
nothing
like...
against him. That's
No, of course not.
That's why this doesn't work as a way to build a society.
No, all cards on the table. Watching all these videos back to back to back. Nothing personally against MrBeast, but it did feel like I was watching a villain origin story.
Yeah.
It felt like right now what he's doing is still kind of contained, right? But with all the stipulations he was even putting on those unhoused people at the very beginning, with the you can have this money, but you have to promise you can't spend it on this and this and this. What happens when he hits his 30s?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's not scratching the same itch anymore. And all of a sudden, these people that he's giving this money to don't fulfill the same criteria. It's so dangerous to leave the health and safety of people in the hands of one guy's whims.
Yeah.
The randomness of MrBeast is actually what is most terrifying.
Interesting. Do you think How do you think that villain arc might continue to play out?
It's going to be, I mean, well, that's the thing is that like it's so early right now that I think that it's a little bit premature to say anything, but I think that Elon Musk is sort of the danger zone of where he could end up.
Yeah.
But he will always have more goodwill.
10
but it
years
can turn on a dime.
10 years ago, you didn't see a lot of criticism of Elon Musk. Not that
Right.
it didn't exist,
Of
but
course.
it was like people loved him. He not only was the favorite guy of Reddit, he posted on Reddit.
Yeah.
He
was a man of the people.
He made tunnels that were going to change how we did transit. No one had ever been in a tunnel before. And then he was going to use that same tunnel company to make flamethrowers just because he's so whimsical.
And also, like to the point of individuals being able to do things versus larger organizations and governmental structures. It's like, one guy is definitely going to be able to build all the tunnels that we need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, absolutely. And
on one hand, I do have to say, Jimmy is a smart man.
Yes.
Yes.
Because now he has a business that's not just a production company or a handful of production companies.
No.
He has a fucking burger franchise.
yeah.
That in and of itself is far more valuable as a piece of capital than anything that the vast majority of people own.
He has chocolate bars that he sells in the store.
Right.
And his media brand is valuable beyond valuation because he's able to use that as influence.
Yeah.
He's able to use that to get people to clean up his displays if they see his chocolate bars are a little out of sorts at the
His
Walgreens.
army of little beasts.
But he's selling chocolate bars and he's selling burgers. That's a lot of money. Right? The CEO of McDonald's is the CEO of McDonald's. He
Right.
doesn't have to have a brand that is constantly topping itself in some bizarre media ecosystem.
Because this is the thing about the creator economy, and I said this when we made the video about TikTok. The form of importance with being an influencer is not about what sorts of connections that you have or whatever. It's about what you can own.
Yeah.
And what you own is always going to be connected to how much attention you can capture. And it is not possible to hold people's attention forever.
There is a final title card at the end of this 1,000 Blind People See for the First Time video that says, I wonder if we'll get 1,000 more views from the people we cured, lol. Which made my bones escape my body. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not... You did a very good thing, but that, I think, encapsulates all the terrible reasons and the mindset, because I know it's a joke. I know it's being said
Right.
in jest, but there's a kernel of fucking truth in that,
that's
isn't
his
there?
only understanding of the world. At the end of the day, his only understanding of the world is content.
Well, what's so interesting, too, is I've listened to some of his other stuff, and he does this every so often where it's like, it's a joke, but it's not. Like, for
Sure.
instance, he was on...
Like me and horses.
Correct. On that podcast episode that I was talking about, he has this moment where the hosts of the show are being like, yeah, and one of the things that I liked so much about like getting to know you a little bit was like, after we did the thing, you and the boys like hung out with us for a while and it was really great. And Jimmy goes, well, yeah, maybe I just knew that it would make you like me more on the podcast. I'm kidding. He's not kidding.
And you see how that sort of mindset permeates into the people that, he hangs out with. He's really good friends with Logan Paul. There's this wanker Tommy who comes in to this into the burger video early on, who is just like completely YouTube pilled,
right,
to the point where he can't have a conversation without saying, well, who's got a mental illness? And then looking at the camera like he's doing a react video
right.
for fucking YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see how this business rots the brains of the people who participate in it. It just warps your perspective immeasurably. There are so few people that I think can go unaffected by this. And there are a couple out there. But for the most part, getting involved in this content creation, it makes you view the world as content.
And I think that also has to do with whether you start young or not. Like it's like the child actor thing, right?
Yeah,
if you're a child actor and all you do is acting and your entire existence is predicated on the approval of adults and them like smiling while you do the dance, that's going to turn you into a very different person than if you get into it once you already have a developed frontal lobe.
That's why you're all fucked up, AJ.
It is.
It's all because of Aaron Sorkin.
Don't worry what Brian says to you. He's so mean. He's just being mean.
So what's interesting is, of course, the main heart of MrBeast's brand is this kind of stuff where it's like, I'm giving people money. But he actually does have a philanthropic thing. He has a nonprofit, MrBeast Philanthropy, which is separate from MrBeast, that is focused on charity, actual charity, food banks. He wants to expand into homeless shelters, plural, which is an idea that could absolutely destroy him if that comes down, because homeless shelters, we talked about homeless shelters earlier in this episode, and you don't really want to go beyond local control in those circumstances, right? You don't want complete alienation from how this thing is operated. So he has an LLC production company on YouTube that has the MrBeast Philanthropy channel. And this contracts with his 501c3, which I think is a very curious arrangement.
Yeah.
You made a point earlier, AJ, when we were talking about this before we were recording, that it was like, well, maybe it's the idea of looking like you're avoiding impropriety.
Sure.
That it's like, oh, it's not just using MrBeast's name or the or the production. Yeah. It's like, here it's going to the charity or
right. It's not like we're producing the videos, but it's not like the money that we're getting from the charity is going towards the making of the videos. It's going towards its own separate.
You know what
thing.
I will say? I just realized something though.
Yeah, sure.
One big advantage of that arrangement is that you don't have to delineate production costs on what you release to the government every year. And so in terms of what they chalk up to operations and salaries and stuff like that, they can make it look as if all of the money is going to, the cause. When in reality, there's a lot of money that probably never makes it to the 501c3 because those are production costs that they deduct as a liability and cost of doing business.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he has this individual small donation option. YouTube now has a thing where you have like a donate button next to a video.
Yeah.
And they have a different amount for each individual video. And it's usually in the tens of thousands. It's not a huge amount that they get from soliciting on the MrBeast Philanthropy channel. But that's because that's not what the thing is.
That's not the point.
No.
So he has this one video where they talk about getting a few $1 million in aid to Ukraine. I think it's $3 million.
Yeah.
They didn't spend $3 million getting those resources. It's $3 million of resources that were put together by local businesses and the Ukrainian American community in North Carolina.
Sure.
And what they do is they get it to Ukraine because MrBeast and his company and his nonprofit are very good at connecting with different businesses and connecting with logistics companies in order to get that there. Now, that's a thing they are actually doing.
Right.
But the title makes it sound like here we're giving $3 million of stuff.
And that it is MrBeast himself doing it.
Yes. And it makes it look like you are supporting it with your individual small donation because that's an option. But really, it's coming from businesses, which is a more legitimate way of doing this stuff because businesses just have way more fucking money. We see like some of the insane companies that are here because venture capital is still here, still alive and well. One of which is like the milk and butter blockchain charity coin. They even say that they are a charity coin, but they are not a charity. They are a private company. They are an LLC.
They sure don't have a ledger
that makes fucking NFT land purchase shit, and like they have a play to earn game,
of course,
and all that stuff.
Of course,
but like 1% of all of the gas fees goes to charity, and you know some of this is going to MrBeast.
It just reminds me, I didn't even mention how MrBeast got involved with like a crypto marketplace, and the token immediately lost all of its value, and it went down from like $8.
So he had his own token.
It was like the coin was his, he was endorsing it or whatever, and it went down from like I think $9 when it initially came out to like 9/100ths of a cent or something like that.
This would never happen to Pop's coin.
No, and this is exactly. Look,
the best part of that Ukrainian aid video is 2 minutes in when it pivots to an ad for BetterHelp.
Oh, yes. Hell yes.
Oh, my God.
Don't need to go any further for that.
Awesome.
Just needed that. Like, that's where oh, God.
Very good. All right.
It's where you get the Jaws vertigo effect shot.
Yeah. So we've now talked a lot about this episode has done wonders for my mental health.
Yeah.
No, honestly,
Very depressing
It's
episode.
interesting. It's interesting talking about it, right? Because it pulls me right back to that video that we were talking about at the very beginning.
Yeah.
This opening of the MrBeast burger in East Rutherford. And
New Jersey.
we talked a little bit about like first impressions of what we saw, of like what the fuck is going on here, not knowing about it. But now knowing everything that we know, And looking back on that same thing again, what jumps out in a different way than was the case for you going into it cold?
I keep thinking about that horrible hallway that he has to wait in before he goes and takes pictures. The mall hallway that's painted this like mint green in patches along the thing.
Yeah, it's not finished yet. It's pretty much just drywall with plaster.
He just keeps filling it with trash as the day goes on because he has to hide back there. And I think about the contrast between this 24-year-old who has been given this, who has like accumulated this burden of like having to perform and to be this icon for people, just pacing in the back hallway, almost muttering to himself, I just need them to be happy. I just need them to be happy. And when you contrast that with when he walks out to address his audience, and it looks like fucking Helm's Deep of 10,000 people in this mall, all screaming and chanting his name. It's harrowing. I can't even begin to imagine what kind of mindset you have to lock yourself into in order to be able to sustain a life like that. And I think the truth of it is, you look at his house, you know, you look in all these videos where you see these shots on his walls of like these painted murals of Steve Jobs, and you see the Jobs biography lying on his bed at night, and you see his reverence for Musk. And it's just, you want somebody with this amount of power to go down a better path, to choose to be different. But it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's possible.
So unlikely. There's
no consequences, right? Because he is doing good stuff.
And that's the thing. I think he's been sincere this whole time. There are things he's hiding from the public or things that he doesn't reveal, but like this is something he sincerely believes in, every aspect of all of it. And
which is so interesting too, in terms of how it stands in contrast with some of the other influencers that we've looked at. Like with the D'Amelio family, there's such a clear gap between what they claim that they're doing and what they're actually doing. They're hiding the ball. He's not.
And if you're thin enough and rich enough and hot enough and whatever, you're able to project enough of a certain atmosphere and a certain aspirational sensibility, you can be completely insincere about this stuff, like Jake Paul or whatever. But he's not that. He doesn't have that charisma or those looks or even that sort of starting wealth. He doesn't he doesn't take people on a tour around some sort of big mansion that he lives in or whatever. It's just the pure sincerity and passion for this project, which is a project that you know, it makes him, he's not a businessman, he's a business comma man. He is this idea of like him giving money. What is that? That's the business. That's him. That's who he is. All of these things are built all together so that his audience can also feel like, well, my fandom is not, I like his stuff and I want to buy his t-shirts. It's, I feel I need to support him, because you can go back to those videos where he's just a kid in his mom's in his mom's house, in his bedroom playing Minecraft, and you'd be like, well, this could be me too. There is such a thing as karma. He does good and good comes back to him. I can support him, and also by supporting him, I will support other people. I can be a good person by being there for MrBeast, and someday I can be MrBeast too. And that's what society teaches us, and that's what it does today with these so-called democratized forms where, yes, sure, in theory, anyone can upload a video to YouTube. It's not like Hollywood, even though Hollywood also has that myth of like being discovered out of nowhere. It's so much stronger now. It's so much stronger that you need to be somebody, and not only do you need to be, it's actually pretty easy if you just keep going. If you just keep pushing, the failures will melt away eventually if you're just cool enough. And that achievement of wealth and these displays of money by giving money away will make you a good person and will change the world. Even though when you look at it and you see the numbers, you're like, oh, well, it's just 10 people. It's just 1,000 people. It's just a burger. I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Mr. Joshes.
Mr. Josh!
See you next week, everyone.
6,000.